Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to the Islamic Vibez Podcast. I'm your host Majid, and today I'm joined by my special guest, the founder of the One Qibla platform, Ustadh Lotfi Abdurrahman, all the way from Canada. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته أخي الحبيب بارك الله فيك جزاك الله خيرا.
Barakallah feek. How are you doing?
الحمد لله بفضل الله عز وجل الحمد لله. Yourself?
Yes, I can't complain, Alhamdulillah.
الحمد لله. We,
With
we
all,
obviously cannot we obviously cannot claim to be doing so well with everything that's happening to the Muslims, but alhamdulillah ala kulli hal.
Of course. Now, obviously, the mind is somewhere else, but the body, Alhamdulillah, is fine. The family as well.
Alhamdulillah.
But obviously,
Alhamdulillah.
and the reason for our discussion today is there's loads that we need to be speaking about, and
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
inshallah,
Obviously, I'm sorry, and before you, since you're, I guess just the fact that you asked how we're doing, right? On a personal level, alhamdulillah, there's nothing to complain about. But like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, our ummah is like one body, right? So if there's only one limb that's suffering, the whole body will be suffering. So no,
of
no matter
course,
how no matter how everything is cool and good and fine around you, alhamdulillah. But if we have, even a bit of Iman like this, we cannot afford to claim that everything is okay.
yes, definitely. And to be honest with you, it's been like a blur for almost 2 months now. Time has flown, and
SubhanAllah.
it just seems like everything, all other kind of interests, whether it's on the side, whether it's sports or whatever, it's like really puts things into perspective where you can't really think of anything else other than what's happening because you're seeing it constantly. Um, but yeah, so inshallah, let's get into it. It's gonna be hopefully like a blockbuster episode because there's loads of things that we need to speak about.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. So the first thing I wanted to sort of speak about, get your views on, was how internationally I would say people have been seeing videos of the people from Gaza and even Palestine in general, and whether it's Muslims and even non-Muslims to probably even a larger scale, where people have been really surprised of the resilience of the people there, and a lot of them, a lot of non-Muslims who actually many have even embraced Islam by seeing, the how these people are responding to the genocide and the calamities that have befallen them. Um, However, as Muslims, from my own point of view, we have, concepts such as sabr, tawakkul, and all these ideas, rizq, and this is part of our iman and things that we have to believe in. But when people are embroiled in the rat race, sometimes this is like information rather than being something which is really internalized. And when I've personally seen the people in Gaza, what I've thought about is, many of us, we have iman. However, we've seen the people there have tasted the sweetness of Iman, where their limbs are testifying their Iman rather than just their tongue. But just on that note, over to you, Ustad. What's your thoughts on the what you've been seeing in regards to the how the Muslims in Gaza, how they are being steadfast in what's happening?
Subhanallah, barakallahu feek, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ba'd. Obviously, we all understand that Islam by its very nature is a practical religion. It's a dynamic religion. It's not a religion of books, right? So my Iman is not defined by all the beautiful books you see in the background. That says nothing about me, right? It says nothing about who I am for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who you are for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Islam is not only about books, it's not only about writing, it's not only about beautiful words. And this is why, by the way, one of those principles that we find in the Quran, for example, in Surah Al-Najm, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ هُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِمَنِ اتَّقَى, that we should not even get to a point where we're claiming a certain level of Iman, a certain status of Iman for ourselves, let alone for others. In other words, I'm not even talking about others. I cannot even talk about myself and say, oh, I have great Iman. oh, I'm a person with a lot of sabr. Oh, I'm a person with a lot of tawakkul. Why? Because as long as I have not, this has not been demonstrated in real life action, I cannot make such a claim. Okay, I cannot make such a claim. So if I have went through some very, very hard situations in life, like major hardship, and I was patient. I did not lose my deen. I became a better person, came closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then inshallah, yeah, that's a very good indication that I have a pretty good level of sabr. Alhamdulillah, I have demonstrated here the ubudiyah, the active worship of sabr. But otherwise, Islam is not about having beautiful words like you heard some of those people that I'm sure you're going to talk about later on in the podcast. Those people who claim to be Muslims and they claim to be upon the Sunnah and everything, who are telling the people of Gaza that you guys should start first by learning your Aqidah. Okay, so there's a guy sitting behind a smartphone on his sofa at home, eating some kabsa, I don't know what, and he's telling people that you guys should be learning Aqidah. You guys don't know Aqidah. You should be like me, go pick up a book and learn the Aqidah first, and then you will be able to liberate Aqsa and Palestine and everything. Those people are they're living Aqidah. They're not reading Aqidah in their books. So if we go back to the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, which are always supposed to be our references, of course, before everything else, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَمَا اخْتَلَفْتُمْ فِيهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ فَحُكْمُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ فإن تنازعتم في شيء فردوه إلى الله والرسول إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر ذلك خير وأحسن تأويلا. Anytime we need to be reminded to understand, what's right, what's wrong, well, we go back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then if we want a little bit more practical demonstration on a community level, well, we have the Sahaba around Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Sahaba, their aqidah is that they were tested heavily. So we find this a lot in Surah Al-Baqarah, in Surah Al-Imran, Surah Al-Ahzab. Obviously, today we're talking about Gaza and Palestine. I'm sure you have tons of questions, tons of things we have to cover. So I don't have the time, to give, a lot of ayat and hadith about everything. But these are concepts that every Muslim is supposed to know. We just need to be reminded of that. The nature of this religion is that if we are truly believers, we will be tested. And the more of a believer you are, you will be tested even more. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ حَتَّى نَعْلَمَ الْمُجَاهِدِينَ مِنْكُمْ وَالصَّابِرِينَ وَنَبْلُوَ أَخْبَارَكُمْ وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. So honestly, akhi, me and you and the people who are living like us, and a lot of those people, again, they are behind their smartphones, telling others to go learn their aqidah, whatever. Honestly, here, if we read this ayah, Allah Ta'ala says that we will be tested with hunger, with dhahabul amwal wal anfus, a loss of souls, a loss of resources, financial resources, wealth. Okay, al khawf, fear, al ju', hunger. So honestly, akhi, me and you, when was it last time that we were tested with hunger? We could not find a piece of bread to eat for 3 days, and you lost your wealth, fi sabilillah, so much was taken away from you, and you were so afraid that you felt, no security for yourself or your family. When did we experience this? Okay, so we don't really know that Islam yet. We have never experienced it. It's not that we wish to experience it. No. Like Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, before Abu Bakr, let's mention Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Of course, لا تتمنوا لقاء العدو واسألوا الله العافية, that do not wish to meet the enemy and ask Allah Ta'ala to give you afiyah. And Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu used to say, لأن أعافى فأشكر خير لي من أن أبتلى فأصبر. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives me afiyah, meaning comfort, everything is okay, alhamdulillah, no problems, no troubles. I'd rather have that and, do my best to be grateful than be tested and then having to be patient. Because again, we do not know what our reaction will be if we will be tested. If we knew our reaction in advance, again, like we said before, فَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ, if I could claim to be someone with so much Iman and everything, and I have Sabr and everything, then I'll tell you, yeah, it's great, let's be tested and get a little bit, adr and higher status, get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the truth is, I cannot claim that. Those people, they did not choose to be tested. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has written on them that they are being tested, and we are seeing their response, their reaction. And alhamdulillah, bifadlillah ta'ala, wa la nuzaki ala Allahi ahadan, we see how much, sabr and how much resilience, how much tawakkul, how much zuhd in the dunya those people have. Because again, here, let's be honest, for a lot of us, if we were tested just a little bit in our deen, just, I don't know, you're just afraid of losing your job or your neighbor turning against you, or I don't know what. Well, for a lot of us, we will sell our deen, for peanuts.
Yeah, of course, of course. That's the scary bit, really, to be honest with you, because the hadith of the messenger, Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, about, sabr is when calamity falls. How many times have something happened and your first reaction isn't one of sabr, but later on you will say, okay, I will have sabr, I will have sabr. But it's that initial moment that you're seeing. So, the sort of videos that you see coming from Gaza is where someone has lost everything. And it's like it's at the moment. And on what they're saying, it's like it has a great impact. And that's why also, I think that many of us, there's the phrase free Palestine, free Palestine, free the Palestinians. But in reality, when you see their response and you see their behavior, in fact, they are free from the dunya, and we are the
Exactly.
ones that are shackled. You know,
Exactly.
they are awake, we are asleep. And I think,
Exactly.
it's messages like this that, as I've said, you would have definitely you come across it yourself on Twitter and stuff. Many non-Muslims who have just started reading the Quran based on this because they can't understand, because living in a materialistic world where all these things is your dunya. I mean, that's the purpose of living. But you have people responding where they have their deceased children in their arms. They have their houses totally destroyed. They've been made refugees once again. It's heartbreaking, and I think it really should be it's like a sign, I would say, you know, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that look at yourself, look in the mirror, until you have your final breath, you have an opportunity to make those choices. What's more important? Is it the dunya or is it the akhirah? And I think this is a big sign for us. Um, Moving on to another topic, it's something that's confused many, but I don't think we should be confused, is the response that we've seen from the so-called international community and international law. Even just yesterday, 10th of December, was the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So all of these things to do with Western civilization, human rights, um, it's kind of been smashed in this last couple of months. And many Muslims who are, initially looked to the international community for some sort of justice. Um, I mean, you still get a few who still look at UN resolutions and stuff like this, who maybe their head is buried in the sand. But should Muslims be surprised about the reaction that they're seeing, where it seems from their point of view so hypocritical and double standards? But as Muslims, if we have an understanding with our deen, should we be surprised by the response we're seeing by the Western civilization?
Well, I think, mashallah, you have already answered, Akhi, when you said, as Muslims, we have our deen, so should we be surprised, right? The question here is, or actually, the answer is that we should be surprised by seeing those who are surprised. Yani, I mean, if we exclude, I guess some people because of their age, they're youngsters, right? They're very young, they're just learning in life. It's normal. Someone, I don't know, someone they're 15 and they're 16, they're discovering life. This is all they have been taught at school, that there's something called, the UN and human rights and so on and so forth. They have been taught a little bit of Quran, some basics of Islam, but nothing further, right? So it's understandable for such a person to kind of be wondering, like, why is the world accepting this? Or for someone, I don't know, maybe someone who had just made tawbah, has just entered Islam, and before they were living, like a life really 100% into the dunya, very, very far from, they, like some people you will find in, I don't know, some Americans. This is a known case. Yeah, this is known fact. Yeah, nothing to do with just with Islam and everything. But I'm sure a lot of people have seen videos on the internet. There are a lot of Americans, they don't even know where Europe is located or Africa is located. Okay, so if someone like that, enters Islam or starts suddenly, getting interested in what's going on in Palestine and everything, not necessarily by accepting Islam, but now they are showing ta'atuf, they are having some feelings for the poor people in Gaza and everything, for the oppressed, and then such a person will be surprised or wondering what's going on. That's, we fully understand. But for someone, akhi, subhanallah, for someone who says that, oh, I know my Islam, I read Quran, Sirah, yeah, I have read the Sirah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Aqidah, yeah, of course, I heard some lectures about Aqidah and I heard about Tawheed and everything. And then they're being surprised. Like, subhanallah, why are you being surprised? If you have it is enough for someone to read the story of Adam alayhi salam with Iblis, how this whole universe, how this whole world of humanity has started from day one, and the tabi'ah, the very nature of the sira', of the conflict between haqq and batil, truth and falsehood, and that shaitan. Why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us about Iblis? Why is Iblis mentioned so many times? Iblis is from the time of Adam alayhi salam, he's heavily active until the end of times. Okay, and every day he's getting more soldiers and more followers from the jinn and from the ins and everything. So this is a whole empire that we cannot even see. This from al-ghayb. But Allah Ta'ala says, أَلَمْ تَرَ أَنَّ أَرْسَلْنَا الشَّيَاطِينَ عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ تَؤُزُّهُمْ أَزًّا. Then there's this point of contact where the shayateen of the jinn, they are constantly pushing the shayateen of the ins, of the kafirin, they're pushing them constantly, non-stop. تَؤُزُّهُمْ أَزًّا. They don't leave them alone. Go do this, go commit this crime, go fight the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, go find the deen of Islam. This will never stop. This will never ever stop. So, if you have read the story of Banu Israel in Surah Al-Baqarah, if you know that those people, they were killers of prophets, they killed prophets, Anbiya alayhimus salam. Like, you can sit down and try to reflect about this. What kind of a person does it take for someone to, like, which kind of a person would get to would cross the line of killing a prophet of Allah, knowing that it is a prophet of Allah. They know that these were prophets of Allah. They knew it very well. It's their Anbiya. Prophets came to them. They were like, yeah, you're our prophets. Yeah, we follow you. And then the time their prophet says something that they don't like, let's kill him. Like, let's get rid of him. Okay. Which type of people are these? Subhanallah. This is in the Quran. So when someone is surprised by all of this, you have not read the Quran, you have not read the Sunnah, you don't know Aqidah. Well, have you read a little bit of history? Did you read about the First World War, the Second World War? Do you know what's the nature of humanity? Are you aware of what's going on in the news every day in your area, all the crimes that are going on, everything? It's just the nature of mankind that there are many human beings that are shayateen. They are so evil. They do not care about any principles, even the principles that they put themselves, they will not respect them. Okay, so how is someone surprised? What are you expecting exactly from these guys? Like, yani subhanallah, yani, when I was young, when I was in primary school, mostly in high school, you would get interested in some information. You want to learn what happened. I don't know, where did this monument come from? What's the history of this country? We had no internet at that time. Okay, we had no internet. You try to find a book, sometimes, I'm not exaggerating, akhi, you would go through the libraries of all of the capital trying to find a book that talks about this, and you cannot find such a book. Today it takes you 3 seconds to go on Wikipedia and know what's the UN, where did it come from, who made it up, right? Who has the right to make a veto? It takes you 3 seconds, 5 seconds, even if you don't know the deed. And these are realities, right? So they have the Security Council where they have what, five states, I believe, the ones that
Five, yeah.
have the right for veto. Okay, so why five? What's the role of the rest? Yeah, the other ones are not human beings. I don't understand. Okay, so why five? Nobody asks these type of questions. Like you don't have to be super smart to ask yourself why is it that they are why is it that there's no Muslim, although we don't have any Muslim country like in reality and truth, but even those that are considered Muslim countries, even the big ones, Indonesia, Pakistan, whatever, how come they don't get to vote as well, to impose their opinion as well? Nobody asks these type of questions. So this is the system of your enemy, akhi. Your enemy made this. The UN is the one that gave these guys Palestine. They gave them the land of Palestine. Your enemy gave them the land, and now you're expecting your enemy to come and shed tears for you and to come help you. Subhanallah.
SubhanAllah. You know, in regards to, because you're in the French part of Canada, right?
Yes.
So there, obviously, I presume they are similar to the French in France, you know, in regards to secularism and liberty and all this sort of stuff. Have you had any interactions with those people who, you know, talk about all these freedoms and liberty and sanctity of humanity and all this sort of
to
stuff?
be to be honest with you, Akhi, it's not really the culture here. Okay, it's not really the culture here. Yes, it's very secular compared to the rest of America, but not to the point, not as secular as France. And also, they don't necessarily champion the same values here of freedom, whatever. It's not like the valeurs de la République, as they call them in France. In France, they worship these values of the Republic, freedom and
Mm.
everything. It's not here. It's not like the French Texas of North America. It's not.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, here
You know,
it's mostly about it's yes, it is very secular because they had a problem with the church. It's not for this necessarily for the same reasons as France. Here, like about what 40 years ago, 50 years ago, they had this thing called the Quiet Revolution, as they call it in French, where they basically made a societal and political revolution against the church. They said we don't want the church anymore. Get out of just go and stay in the in some buildings. We don't want you in politics. So that's why they're very sensitive to religion, and like especially if it's religion coming from, as they say, from from the rest of the world. And they have the issue of the language here too. So they consider the language, the French language, as being something super important to basically preserve the identity, because again, they consider themselves to be a minority facing, all of the English North America. So
okay, okay, interesting, interesting. You know, you mentioned the UN, and I want to ask you, get your thoughts on a really important topic actually, which actually is gonna get more traction in the coming weeks. In reality, what we're seeing is political games being played and at the expense of Muslim blood. So we know that, you know, the United States has, you know, said that it stands behind, you know, Israel and it will support it till the end. However, we do know that there are issues between them in the sense that the Americans and their vision, strategic vision for the region is to integrate the Zionist state. And it can only do this by settling the Palestinian file, which is what it proposes as the two-state solution. And at the same time, we see Netanyahu, who from day one has said, you know, he will do everything in his ability to stop a Palestinian state from being established, and also, you know, with this kind of ultra right religious government they have in place now. So there's that conflict between them. um, However, what we're seeing now is, you know, the Americans and their allies, whether it's the, you know, so-called Muslim country leaders and some of the European leaders, who are now, you know, firmly pushing the two-state solution, even though this has been on the table for a long time. But you know, the Zionists have done everything in their ability to change the reality on the ground that it's not even possible. However, I feel like, especially after what's happening in Gaza now, you know, it's gonna get to a stage where they're gonna push this as being the only viable solution. Either the Muslims must accept this and give up their claim to right of return and to their land that they were kicked out of in 1948 and then 1967, or basically end up with nothing. And a lot of Muslims as well are, you know, kind of like keen on this idea, not in a malicious way, but they're saying like, well, look, the bloodshed needs to stop and the Palestinians need their right, they need protection, and so on, without actually looking into the details of what is this two-state solution, what actually will the Palestinians end up with. However, what I want to do is get your opinion really on the Sharia point of view in regards to Muslims um, signing off basically, 80% plus of the land of Philistine to the Zionists. From a Sharia point of view, is this something which is allowed? Is this something which is prohibited?
Okay, barakallahu fiqh, khair inshallah. طيب, we can look at it from two different perspectives, which will lead us to the very same answer, by the way. So we can talk about it from a logical perspective, and we can talk about it from a religious Sharia perspective, fiqh perspective, which will again lead us to the same consequence, to the same answer, which is not a surprise, because anything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals in the deen goes, as the ulama, they say, with the aql as-salim, with the proper reason, with the proper reasoning, the right reasoning, not, my opinion, your opinion, but the right reasoning as it is supposed to be, basically the sound reason, aql as-salim, is in a full compatibility with the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the one who has created the aql is the one who has revealed the Shara. It's the same source, all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, from a logical perspective, right? Because maybe we have some non-Muslims who will be watching this, whatever. They don't necessarily believe in fiqh and Sharia and everything. They just want to know what would be right. Number one, the Israelis, as they call themselves. By the way, Israel is a noble name of Nabiullah Yaqub alayhi salam, is a noble name of Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam. So it's just unfortunate that we have to call these people, by the name of their state, but in reality, they are Banu Israel, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called them in the Quran al-Karim. So these guys, not all of them believe in the two-state solution. Okay, many of them, they are very, as you said, the religious extremists, as they call them in the media, and so on and so forth. And a lot of them, they are part of the current Netanyahu government. They do not believe in the existence we have. We are reading it, it's in our face. Many of them, they are openly calling for the extermination. They want to exterminate the Palestinians. Okay, they want to get rid of them. There's no hurma, no sanctity even for children, for women. They said all of these are projects for future terrorists. We should just eradicate them, get rid of them. Okay, so on the other side, not all of them believe in the two-state solution. So that, number one, already makes it impossible. So don't come and ask me to do something which you're not able to deliver, right? So if imagine you just go, even forget land, Zakhi. You go buy a car. Okay, you go to a car dealer, you want to buy a new car. And then you're dealing with two different supervisors there. The salesman, he has two different supervisors. One of them says, yeah, give him the deal, make him sign it, no problem. The other one says, no way, it's not happening. Okay, and it's in your face. Both of them, they're disagreeing. It's in your face. So one of them, and then the salesman comes to you and says, so let's sign the contract. I cannot sign the contract because you guys do not even agree, so it's not certain that you will be able to deliver, right? So that's number one. Number two, again, from a logical perspective, how can someone come to your house? They take a portion of your house, they take half of your house, so they take 40%, whatever. And then you try to resist, you try to push them back, okay? And you're not able to do so because they have more power than you, they have more force than you. So it's the law of the jungle at the end of the day. And then they say, look, now you have no choice. It's been like this for a few weeks. You have no choice, Akhi. We're going to create a two-house solution, okay? So one floor, we're going to split the rooms and everything. And then they say, you have to accept it. And then you call the police, you call the judge, they come to you and say, no, my friend, you have to accept the two-house solution. How does this make sense, Akhi? This is their land. These guys are invaders. There's no other word to describe it. They came not even like centuries ago. I'm sure you have seen that picture of this old Palestinian lady that she was carrying this sign that said, "I am older than your state." Okay, the grandma is not even dead. The grandma she is still
think we've got some technical problems. Okay, so we had some technical issues there. Apologies for that. Back over to you, Ustad.
Barakallahu fik, jazakallah khair. Yeah, so Akhi, again, the British, they came, they gave that land to these guys. Muslims at that time, I'm not going to generalize. I was not alive at that time. I did not exist. I was not with them, so I cannot generalize and just accuse the Palestinians of being naive and whatever, all of them. But definitely, for sure, there was some khiyana, there was some many Palestinians at that time who just did not follow, the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, did not follow the principles of the Quran. Ya ayyuhalladina amanu khudu hidrakum. They did not take their wala and bara seriously by knowing, where the enemy is going. Again, this is just the example, as I said, someone who comes to take over your house, but they're not going to knock at the door and say, I'm here to take over your house. They're going to say, oh, I'm a poor guy. I have nowhere to go. Can you host me for a night, please? Can you, I heard you're very generous. You guys are Muslims, you're Palestinians, you're Arabs. You're very generous. Can you host us? Can you give us some land where we can live? Just, we have nowhere to go. Poor us, And it's definitely the case that many Muslims in that time, they were so naive, they were so ignorant, and they were even disobedient to the qawa'id, to the principles of the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put very clearly. And then we see the consequences today. Who's paying? Well, it's the generations after you. That's why we have to be very, 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 very careful, akhi, that there are some mistakes. Again, here I'm talking to all of those Muslims who still want to be naive when it comes to their deen. Everything is about husnul dhan and, do benefit of the doubt, and let's try this and see where it's going. Well, believe me, Habibi, it's your children and your grandchildren, generations after you, who might pay the bill very, very, very heavily after you, like the Palestinians are paying it today. Akhi, today Gaza, I believe Gaza is paying the bill with, very heavy riba, interest. When you pay the bill, you had to pay like $1,000, but then it's been years you haven't paid. My father did not pay. My grandfather did not pay. Well, the riba, the interest is adding every year. It's adding up. And look how heavy right now it is. Okay. Look, akhi, I know people are not used to be talking about Palestine like this and everything. People, they just, want to talk about protests and everything. But akhi, let's just talk about the reality in front of us, okay? What's happening? What's the big deal here? What's the big deal at the end of the day? We have people with overwhelming, obviously people who do not fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, people who do not have any values. They don't believe in nothing, no deen, no akhirah, no humanity, nothing, okay? They know no limits, and they have overwhelming power. They have air power, to be more precise. This is what's making the whole difference. Let's be honest here, okay? That's what's making difference here. That's the big deal. We're not talking here about soldiers like in the time of the Tatar, the Mongols, right? Coming in big numbers, very brave, very muscular, very physical, very tough, and coming to invade the land of the Muslims and committing many massacres. We're in different mode here. We have people who have this overwhelming technology, and more specifically, as they call it, air supremacy. They are able to just enter at any time, enter Gaza, fly over it, throw tons and tons and tons of explosives and bombs, and leave and come back 15 minutes after and do the same thing and everything, okay? And you can see it. This is very clear. There's nothing here. We cannot deny this, akhi. Again, some guys like the Madkhalis and everything, this is the point that they will focus on. And this is tahrif. This is, altering what the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is about. The point, akhi, there's a big power difference here. There's a big power difference. The Muslims, when we say the Muslims, the Muslim populations, I'm not talking about what they call the Muslim governments, whatever. The Muslim populations have nothing to defend themselves. Nothing, really nothing, okay? Because this whole secular global system has made it that, you cannot own anything to defend yourself. It's the role of the state. And then we have states that, again, even if you ask the cows in the farms in the Arab lands, they know this reality, that these governments, right, they are khawana, they are fraudsters, they are enemies of this ummah. The governments, for example, in the Arab world and many other of the so-called Islamic Muslim countries, whatever, all the power they have, all the technology they have, although it is lower than what the West has, but even that technology is only there to basically to damage and to punish their own populations. So at the end of the day, what do you have? You have masses, millions of the Muslims around the world, like it happened in Syria before, it happened in many other countries. Now we see it in Gaza. They have nothing to defend themselves, and then you have the enemy on the other side with overwhelming technology, overwhelming power. The power balance here is huge. It's huge. They have, again, air power, cyber capabilities. We live in the world of surveillance and, big data and big brother, right? Where you're being surrounded by everywhere. How did we get to this, Akhi? Was it like this? Was the power balance, was the power difference like this 30 years ago?
You have to argue in respect to the between the Palestinians and the state of Israel.
Let's say between the Muslims, generally speaking, the Muslim populations, right? It was not like this 30 years ago. There was a difference, yeah, for sure. But what I'm trying to make as a point here, Akhi, is that look, if you look at the Arab armies that lost in a very humiliating way to Israel a few decades ago, okay? It was a tank battle in the desert, okay? So air power was not really a major factor at that time, okay? So at that time, just they said, oh, they have better tanks than us. They are more organized than us. So already there was a certain power difference. Obviously, those Arab armies, they lost because they were useless. They have no aqidah. They have no principles, right? They were nationalistic. They were not doing this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Obviously, if you're not an army, fi sabilillahi azza wa jal,
But
you're
also
just there for your...
just on that point, Ustad,
Yes.
From a lot of research, to be honest with you, that's been revealed since then. It shows that
Yes.
in fact there was a lot of collusion, and these wars were actually designed for this result, to put this psyche in the Muslims and especially the Arabs that these people are undefeatable.
Exactly. But if you look at the data, the information on paper, if we accept, if we let's say it here just for the sake of theory, just for the sake of discussion, if we say that these guys 50 years ago, 40 years ago, they were undefeatable, if you take away again the whole thing about aqidah, tawakkul ala Allah, take the deen away, we're just talking about force compared to another force, just
On
on
paper.
paper. Yeah. If you believe 50 years ago they were undefeatable, then today they are undefeatable times 100. So what I'm trying to say here is this is just an illustration of what I'm talking about here. Paying the bill with interest. And this bill is not going to stop. The more it goes on, the more the power difference is going to get bigger. Okay? So again, I forgot what your question was. Yeah, it was about the two-state solution, right? It's just a matter of time. They just want you to forget. They're just waiting for the generation that will forget everything. They'll say, "Oh, it's part of the past." Yeah, that's their land. It's not our land, right? It's their land. They can keep it. We have a small portion of the land. As long as they're taking care of us, we're eating, we're drinking. Alhamdulillah, we have some beautiful houses. Which, by the way, if you listen to what Netanyahu he said on Twitter, there was a Twitter discussion. I'm sure you have heard about it. It was like, I think last week or something. He said it. He said it. What we want to liberate Gaza from these guys and crush Hamas, whatever. And then, by the way, some people, when you talk about Gaza, right away they talk about Hamas and start talking about Hamas. No, akhi. Standing up for Gaza does not mean you're standing up for Hamas. There's no like, you don't have, if you want to stand up for Hamas, you're free to do so. You don't want to stand, but we're talking here about standing up for the cause itself. This is number one, the population, the Muslims over there. Number two, for the haqq, for the justice. Number three, for the deen. We have obviously Al-Aqsa in Palestine is not, some island somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Everybody's supposed to know this. Standing up for the deen, standing up for the land of the Muslims. It's not about Hamas here. This is about whether you like Hamas, don't like them, criticize them, not. At the end of the day, it's not going to change the outcome of what the problem is, of what the situation is, okay? So, the two-state solution, akhi, no. Those people, as I said, Netanyahu, he said that he wants to liberate Gaza from Hamas. And then he said very clearly that he wants to get rid of Islam. He said we have to go to the mosques, and he said like we did in the UAE, like we're doing in Saudi and everything. He said we need to do the same thing in Gaza. We have to start with the mosques and what he calls the radical, it's very, very easy to just, portray you as very evil religion instead of just directly insulting Islam. Just insult radical Islam. Okay, it's the same thing. He's actually targeting Islam. So he wants to eradicate Islam. So let's say they're giving you a two-state solution. Which kind of a state are they giving you? A state in which you will be living as slaves. You have no religion. You don't have the right to your deen. Look, Akhi, even what they call the Arab-Palestinian state that they claim to accept, they claim, when I say they, in the West, not Israel. Israel does not accept it, okay? But in the West, they say, we accept Mahmoud Abbas, okay? Mahmoud Abbas, the authority of Mahmoud Abbas, whatever. Mahmoud Abbas, this guy's not even a Muslim, Akhi. He's not even a Muslim, okay? The state is not even like a Muslim state. It's a secular state. And they don't even like it. Like the Banu Israel, they don't even accept. Many of them don't even, if not most of them, don't even accept this state. They don't even recognize it. They want something more diluted, okay? So which type of a two states are you exactly calling for? Not you, obviously. These guys, the people, they say, oh, you hear some astaghfirullah, you hear some imams nowadays in the West. They say, yeah, the two states, we're calling for a go back. Akhi, go, subhanallah, go learn the basics of your deen before going on the minbar, subhanallah. They will not, even if in theory, even if we would say that we will accept the two-state solution, there will be no two-state solution. They will not give you a two-state solution. If they will give the Palestinians their own state, they will do it just for a very brief period, just to make them, silent, and then they will take away that state from them. Okay, so this is just a temporary thing that they're trying to sell to people. Again, like they do all the time, step by step. Time. It's they want to play on time, on generations. Every generation that's gonna come is gonna accept more, to concede even more. Now, from a Shar'i perspective, akhi, I don't even have to talk for all this time. It takes 1 minute to answer. It's no, and it's no. And this is by ijma', according to all the madhahib, all the fuqaha, whatever. There is no opinion about this, akhi al-habib, that we cannot accept in Islam, that we cannot sell the lands of the Muslims. Number one, this is not my house, Again, like before I said, if I want to give that guy, the robber, the one who came and who took over my house, if I want to give him a house, half of it, if I'm a coward, I want to give him half of it. It's my house at the end of the day. This is the land of Islam. This is the land of the Ummah. Nobody can give it. Nobody can do that. Nobody on this earth has the right. Not Imam al-Haram, not even the Khalifa. There was a Khalifa. Nobody has the right to give the lands of the Muslims.
Yeah, subhanallah, subhanallah. So that leads me into a question really, where I think from what you said, and there's so much to come back on, to be honest with you. But one thing I want to mention is that people will try to dilute it, and I'm not going to say your favorite people. We have these few people that see you, exchanging on Twitter, but we have the madkhalis who they try to trick people. If you see the videos, in the what's the place, Speaker's Corner, and on the internet, where basically they're saying, well, look, this is allowed, and they say it's allowed because this is from the Sunnah and this is from Islam. So, as an example, when the normalization was going on, and you had these people who were talking about the Treaty of Hudaybiya, and they were trying to say that, well, the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had treaties and he made these deals with the non-Muslims. So because of this, it's allowed to have normalization with the illegal entity, as well as having a two-state. Um, what are your thoughts on that? I'm not sure if you caught all of that, because I know you're trying to change your headset.
Yes, I missed some of it, the volume. Sorry, akhi.
So I'm just going to quickly shortcut, going to ask the question again. So in regards to those people who are trying to muddy the waters, trying to confuse Muslims by saying that you can't have normalization with the illegal state, you can't have two-state solution because the Prophet ﷺ did this
Sallallahu
at the
alayhi
time of he had Treaty of Hudaybiya and he had other hudnas. I mean, this is ridiculous, but what are you? And these are the same people, by the way, you are very proudly, and it's really shocking drinking their Starbucks and laughing about what's happening. These people are meant to be the ones who are you're supposed to take your knowledge from. But anyway, what's your thoughts?
The agents, akhi, they are the agents. Let's call them what they are. Akhi. They are the agents. Let not the Muslims be deceived by these people. I'll answer your question, inshallah ta'ala. I'll show you how weak their message is. But also, we cannot, afford to every time go and respond back to their shubuhat for everything. Nobody has the time to follow these, fake imams and so on and so forth. These fake Salafis and these fake Sufis as well. Let's be fair here, because some people they and this is a very uh, cheap cheap strategy, cheap shots that some people, unfortunately, in the current situation in which we are, which they try to use these type of profiles to launch, their war against the Salafis or against no. Let's be fair here. These people, just like you have some of them, they come in different flavors and different colors, right? These agents, these munafiqeen, let's call them what they are. And I'm responsible for my words when I meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If people, they don't like it, people have become so sensitive that, mustalahat Shariah, the words that are used in the Quran, Allah ta'ala revealed it. I did not make up these words. These are mustalahat Shariah, Quraniyah. This is what Allah ta'ala, He warns us about in many surah of the Quran, the munafiqeen, the danger of the munafiqeen. Same thing with the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Same thing with the Sahaba radiallahu anhu in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, if some people have become so sensitive, no, akhi, don't say munafiqeen. No. He's just we just disagree with him. A munafiq is a munafiq. If someone does not like my words, they can just stop listening. I'm not. It's not people I'm not accountable for what people think about my words. I'm accountable for when I meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether we conveyed the truth or we were just, trying to please people and sugarcoat everything. But as I said, these munafiqeen come in different flavors because they know the people who are pushing them, who are manufacturing these munafiqeen, these agents who are paying them, and they know that Muslims have different groups and everything, so they want to cater to to different segments of the ummah. They want to have some figures for the Sufis, some figures for the Salafis. So if you're a Salafi, we have someone who's going to convince you to accept normalization. If you have a Sufi, we have someone also who is a Sufi who's going to be there to convince you, and so on and so forth. So here to answer Ya Akhil Habib, number one, as we said, we have foundations, usul in the Quran, in the Sunnah, in the fiqh. In the fiqh, there are questions of ijma', agreed upon. These are foundations, usul of the deen of Islam. And no one can come in 2023 and say something that goes in contradiction with those usul. No matter how beautiful your thing that you put on your head, your ghutra is, or how long your beard is, and even if Bukhari and Muslim and the Kutub Sitta, and the Quran with the 10 qira'at and everything, there's nothing you can do to modify the foundations of Islam. So if you talk against the foundations of Islam, anta ala batil, anta mubtilun, you're spreading falsehood. Now, number one, Akhil Habib, who are you exactly? They say it's okay to make normalization, it's okay to make hudna. Okay, who are you to make hudna? So obviously, who is making this so-called hudna nowadays? The Emiratis, the Saudis? Is Palestine your land? Do you live there? Do you live in Gaza? Are you from the people? If it was permissible to do it, who's gonna do it? It's the people of Gaza, yes or no? It's the people of Gaza. They say, okay, you know what? This is too tough for us, too difficult for us. We have checked with our ulama. They have the ulama too. They don't need to come to Mecca or to Medina or to Abu Dhabi to find, some Salafi, so-called Salafi sheikh who can give them fatwa. They have ulama in Gaza too. Don't worry about that. So they have the ulama. They have the Ahlul Halli wal Aqd, people of qualifications, people of, sincerity and everything, people of opinion. If they want to make hudna, if it was acceptable, they want to make hudna, they are going to make the deal, not you making the deal in Riyadh or in Dubai, making the deal. It's none of your business. It's none of your business, akhi. Number one. Number two, akhi al-Habib, hudna with the enemy. Hudna meaning a peace treaty, okay? Hudna with the enemy. By default, if you are talking about a dafa, the enemy who is sa'il, the one who is coming to your lands, okay? What we call here jihadu dafa, obviously. There is no hudna in this, except in very few situations in which I'm not going to enter. Why I'm not going to enter? Because here I'm not going to play the game of these munafiqeen, okay? These are major, major issues of war and peace. It's not up to someone like me to decide on them. If there was a decision to be made, you know what? Release the ulama of the Muslimin, release them from jails, from prisons. There are tons of ulama, tons. Some of the best of our ulama nowadays, they are either in jail, okay, in Saudi. There are hundreds of people of knowledge in jail, hundreds with no exaggeration, including some of the top ulama. Basically, the only top ulama that are still outside, the only people who with so much knowledge, so much status who are still outside of jail in Saudi, most of them are those who have accepted to just become official mashayikh, accept some official position, and talk about, make fatwa about salat and about riba and about but don't talk about politics, don't get involved in that. So if there was something to be made, well, number one, release our ulama from jail, and even those who are outside of jail, even the other Arab countries. I'm not talking about only about Saudi. You have ulama, alhamdulillah, all around the ummah, alhamdulillah. But even those who are outside of Saudi, even those who are not in jail, akhi, they don't have the freedom. Which religion around the world, akhi? They're always talking to us about minorities in the Muslim lands and give them their freedom. We don't have freedom as Muslims, akhi. Our ulama don't have freedom, akhi. In the Arab countries, in most of the Arab countries, our ulama, they don't have freedom. They cannot talk about politics. They don't feel safe. There is no safety for them. They cannot gather. They cannot have like, okay, let's make, a conference. Let's rent a big hotel or room, whatever. And we're going to deliberate to talk for 2 weeks about the matter of Palestine and what should we do? And should we do a hudna or not? Such thing does not exist. It has to be under the stick of the ruler, of the government. Okay? So if you don't have freedom, then which type of ilm are you talking to me about? Like which type of... So give freedom to our ulama, to our ahlul halli wal aqd, leave them alone. If once they become independent, okay, and they gather from around the world, from Asia and Arab and everything, they discuss these major matters of the ummah. If there is a way for them to say that even with Banu Israel, we can make a hudna for some time, for some conditions and everything, because this is a situation, maybe, Allahu A'lam, maybe there's an opening for it in fiqh. Maybe, I'm saying maybe. It's not up to me to talk about this, okay? This is a very big, who am I? Again, you see some people on Twitter, he's saying, yeah, we can make hudna with Banu Israel. Are you okay, man? Some kid, some teenager that became, famous on TikTok or Twitter, and saying, oh, Rasulullah asked me made Hudaybiya. So this guy, our friend, is making, he's deciding for the Ummah, he's deciding for Al-Aqsa. He's, who are you? Who are you? Now, the ulama, imagine, even back in the days, we don't have it anymore. When they had jihad al-talab, they used to go out, conquests. In the books of fiqh, they said to make a hudna, a treaty, peace treaty with the enemy who's outside the Muslim lands. Just like, they have their country and you have your country, but you want to make peace treaty with them that there's not going to be any clash between the two, between the Muslims and the land of the non-Muslims on the other side. Even centuries ago, akhi, they used to say this hudnat cannot be for a longer period than 10 years. Maximum 10 years, okay?
Temporary.
So, sorry?
So it's temporary. It's not
Yeah, it's
permanent.
temporary, exactly. This is even for talab, not even for dafa, not even to someone. This is an enemy that has no problem with you. There's nothing going on, but you're like, just in case we want to be safe, we want to have that border that's secure. Let's see, maybe he wants the same thing. Let's make a deal for 10 years, okay? So now you're telling me that this is an active enemy that's inside the land of the Muslims, that's actively killing, destroying Muslims. Even before these events, akhi, people don't get it. It's not like people of Gaza, they say, oh, you see what's happening to them now after October, whatever happened. See what position they put themselves on, akhi. They were living in a jail, akhi, even before this. They were living inside a siege. You can barely leave, your borders. You have no life. There's no food that comes to you. They were living a very tough life, akhi. Okay, so this is an active enemy of the Muslims that's destroying the Muslims. Every 2-3 months you hear in the news, even before, every 2-3 months goes back. Oh, اقتحام المسجد الأقصى. Their soldiers have entered al-Aqsa. They have fired tear gas inside al-Aqsa. Right or wrong, akhi? Okay, so which type of a peace treaty you're talking about? Even if it was possible, which type of peace treaty you're talking about? Now comes obviously the Hudaybiya, the famous Hudaybiya. Hudaybiya is like, has become this noble story in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Unfortunately, nowadays, again, because our ulama are not free, they don't have freedom, so we have all of these ruwaybidat that are popping up left and right and center. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by the way, for those who don't know this word, he warned us that one of the signs of the end of times in the authentic hadith, وَيَنْطِقُ الرُّوَيْبِضَةِ, الرُّوَيْبِضَة will start talking. Subhanallah. Yani imagine Sahaba, they had no idea. I'm just trying to imagine how the Sahaba were trying to imagine, how this would become a reality, this ruwaybidah. Okay, maybe there's going to be a man who's a ruwaybidah, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told him, Ya Rasulullah, man ruwaybidah. He said, الرجل التافه يتكلم في أمر العامة, أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. It's the uneducated, the useless. When I say uneducated, not someone who doesn't have a degree. No, uneducated meaning they don't understand life, they don't understand this deen, they're not from the ulama, they're not from the people of wisdom, they have no hikmah, and it's someone who's a very low status. يتكلم, talking about umur al-amma. What's umur al-amma? The general matters, the big matters. There's umur al-khassa. Umur al-khassa, myself, I'm talking about myself, my family. Okay, I say, oh, I should get this type of job. Oh, I should sell my car. This is amr al-khassa. Amr al-amma is I should give the land of Palestine, let's split it 50-50%. Now, when you get to a point where you're having Ruwaybidah who's talking about this is one of the signs of the end of times. That's in the authentic hadith. Now, as I said, I'm trying to imagine Sahaba, probably they could say, they're trying to visualize, what Rasulullah is talking about. Is it going to be like some man, standing up in a market and there's like 20 people listening to him? He's going to say like, we should make war, should make peace. But Sahaba definitely never thought about TikTok or Twitter and YouTube and having, 1 million followers, right? Subhanallah. So this story of Hudaybiya, now everyone is saying, for everything. You have the liberal imams in the West, like 2 years ago, what was it? A year ago, I don't remember. Time flies. When they had that, what was it called? What is it called? That document they made about Qawm Lut.
Yes, I remember. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then
It wasn't that long ago. You mean like the document to clarify their position?
Yeah, exactly. So it was, very, very, very like water washed. Okay,
Yeah.
different topic, but what I'm trying to say here that you, I heard some of their imams and those who have signed, they were defending it. They were saying this is like Hudaybiya. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made Hudaybiya. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Everything has become Hudaybiya. Hudaybiya was a aqd, it was a contract. Okay, it was a contract between Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his enemies. A contract, when you say aqd in Islam, you have muta'aqidain, the two sides of the contract. Okay, so did you guys meet with the Qawm Lut and make a contract? Where's the other side? you write a document and you call it al-Hudaybiya. The other side did not sign anything. What did they give you in return? What did you take? What did you give? Hudaybiya also, people they don't understand that Hudaybiya, much of it was through a revelation from Allah Ta'ala. This is what Allah, He told Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you should accept this and this and give them 1, 2, 3. This is wahi from Allah. That's why even the Sahaba, it was, if it was only left to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, if it was his own ijtihad, very possibly that's not what he would have written alayhi salatu wasalam. No, because this comes from Allamul Ghuyub, the one who knows the unseen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has decreed that there's going to be good in those conditions. 1, 2, 3, 4 of the contract. That's why even the Sahaba, we all know the story. Even someone with the Iman of Umar ibn Khattab, he was about to lose his mind. What is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam giving to these people? And then he goes to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq to complain. Why is Alaysa Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam haqqan? Isn't he truly Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? فَعَلَى مَنْ نُعْطِي الدَّنِيَّةَ فِي دِينِنَا. Why do we have to accept this humiliation? So Abu Bakr, because he is a Siddiq, he can see further than Umar ibn al-Khattab. Okay? So he's seeing further. He says, إِنَّهُ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم وَلَيْسَ يَعْصِيهِ. And he's not going to disobey his Lord. He's not going to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah Azza wa Jal, Allahu ta'ala a'lam, we don't have the whole wisdom. Allah, He knows, we don't know everything about, the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But some of the wisdom is that was a very, very tricky, very special, exceptional situation, it was the time for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to take over Mecca. He is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so it's his time to do Fathu Mecca, conquest of Mecca. But because it is Mecca, it is so noble. Allah, it's just not a place to be conquered, by a battle of bloodshed. And especially not for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is the seal of prophets. Because imagine if it was remembered after him alayhi salatu for centuries, even if it was the haqq, the truth. But if it was remembered that the best prophet alayhi salatu, the seal of prophets, he entered the best land, which is Mecca, the most sacred, in which it is the haram, we're not even supposed to hunt inside, whatever. And when he entered it, it was bloodshed and battle, and people were dying and everything. It would not be something that it would be hard to accept for many people, although it's the truth that he is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted this land to be liberated with no battle, whatever, in the most peaceful way. So that's why Allah ta'ala, He ordered His Prophet alayhi salatu to do that treaty of al-Hudaybiya. Now, who among us is who's receiving the revelation today? Make a treaty of al-Hudaybiya with these guys, and what are they giving you in return? Anyways, what are they giving you in return? Like a treaty of what exactly? Peace for what? What are you getting in return? These guys are yes.
Even the treaty of Hudaybiya.
Yes.
This was a victory.
Yes.
This was a victory, and I think where people try to use it, maybe it's because of misunderstanding, or maybe because there's something more malicious going on.
Yes.
Try to show it that the Prophet ﷺ, he compromised.
Yes.
Right. So we can compromise, and they use this, but this was a victory because we see what the Messenger ﷺ did after the Treaty of Hudaybiya. He paralyzed the Quraysh. Islam spread, and like you're saying, they came to Mecca with 10,000 strong without a fight.
Okay. Yes, definitely. Let me mention one other point here, okay? As I said, this can get tricky and sensitive, okay? We don't want to get into too much details. That's why I say we don't have freedom to talk about religion. Our deen, we don't have freedom. Like some mashayikh, they said, even in the Muslim countries, we wish we had the rights as Muslims in the Arab countries. We wish we had the rights of minorities. Just give us the rights, just treat us as a minority, but give us the rights of minorities. We would be good enough, much better than what we are doing right now. But that's why people should go and learn. Go learn your deen. Instead of, spending all your time on the internet and everything, people should go and learn some basics of their deen. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he made the Treaty of Hudaybiya, did all Muslims have to abide by that treaty? No. The Muslims that were not under the authority of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we all know the story of Abu Basir and Abu Jandal. Okay, they were troublemakers after, because it was the Treaty of Hudaybiya that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam he was not able to take them. But you see, there's even in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made a hikmah even in that. They became the troublemakers that forced Quraysh to come back Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to reverse back the treaty. Okay, let's get rid of this treaty. It's not good for us. Okay, so the people of Gaza, because these madkhalis nowadays, right? These evil madkhalis, they're so evil, these people, akhi. Wallahi, the tahrif, the alteration they do to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's insane. Okay, they say Waliul Amr, Waliul Amr, Waliul Amr, our ruler, our ruler, our ruler. Okay, you're Saudi ruler. Okay, who is the ruler of the Muslims today? Is there a Khalifa for the Muslims who can make a treaty of Hudaybiyah? Okay, there's no Khalifa. So who's the ruler who's going to be making this treaty? Who is making it today? Mohammed bin Salman? What's they called the other ones? Al Nahyan?
Mohammed bin Zayed. Oh, in Saudi, yeah.
No, Al Saud and Al Nahyan, yani the ones in the Emirates, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
Mohammed ibn Zayed. Okay. Are the people of Gaza under their authority, under their political authority? Are they under the political authority of Mohammed bin Salman?
No.
Khalas? None of your business. Imagine someone, Sahabi in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he signed the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made the treaty of Hudaybiyah, and this is Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, companion. But because he was not under the political leadership of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What do we mean by that? Al-Imamu in Sahih Muslim, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Al-Imamu Junnah. Al-Imamu Junnah, the Imam, the ruler in Islam, the Khalifa, the leader, he is a Junnah, he is a protection for the citizens. So it's a two-way relationship. He has rights for obedience and everything, but he has duties. And one of the top duties of the Imam in Islam is protection. Al-Junnah, what is Junnah? Junnah meaning يُقَاتَلُ مِنْ وَرَائِهِ, a shield. Barakallahu fiqh. So if Muhammad ibn Salman, as they say, he is the Junnah he's the Imam of the Muslims, or Al-Nahyan, whatever, if it's the case, then I should be able, if I have any troubles, I'm having troubles, in my deen, I'm being persecuted in my deen, or yourself, whatever, any one of us should be able to pick the plane and go there and say, please protect me. He's going to say, come behind me. I'm here to protect you. Okay. If he was an Imam, now can he protect the people? See, this is Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he's not under the political leadership, saying political, so that nobody confuses here. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is Rasulullah, he's Prophet of Allah alayhi salatu salam. We have the book of Imam al-Qarafi, I don't know if I have it here somewhere, book of Imam al-Qarafi, al-Ihkam fi Tamiz al-Fatawa an al-Ahkam, in which part of the idea of the book is to demonstrate, the different roles that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam he had. Okay, so when you find sometimes, you find in some ahadith that Aisha radiallahu anha, she was unhappy with the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Do you find this or no?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, someone can say, how is she unhappy with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? If someone is unhappy with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this can be kufr. This can be major kufr. Okay, if someone can be nifaq or can be even major kufr. This is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She's not unhappy with him as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now he has a different role with her, an additional role with her. This is a husband-wife relationship. Okay, it's not a relationship. So when some of the Sahaba, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if he comes to the market and he wants to buy something from the Sahaba, they say, not for this price, Rasulullah, I want a higher price. Okay, they're not dealing with him as Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They're dealing with him as this is business that's halal. Allah Ta'ala made it halal. Same thing, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in his lifetime, alayhi salatu salam, he also had the role of a political leader of the Muslims, okay, in his time. So some of the Sahaba were not under his leadership because they were not in his land, alayhi salatu salam. They have to obey him as a prophet, alayhi salatu salam, but they don't have to respect necessarily the contracts he made with the enemies. Now, the people of Gaza, you guys want to do in Saudi, Emirat, whatever, you want to do like your normalization, whatever, Gaza is none of your business. They're not under your authority.
Yeah.
And again, people, they can open today any book of Sirah. They can go read about Hudaybiya and read about the story of Abu Basir and Abu Jandal. They will get more context about this.
Yeah, definitely. That clarifies it a lot, to be honest with you. So we spoke about obviously the two-state solution, or another this other brother who he delivered a khutbah, and he mentioned something interesting. He said it's not the two-state solution, it's the two-state surrender.
Yes.
Um, so in regards to the Islamic solution, then, and I think this is something which I know people don't, Muslims don't call these actions solutions, whether it's boycotting, whether it's protesting and doing these other things. It's more to generate the awareness, right? However, I think there's a big disconnection from what Muslims view a solution would be and what Islam says. So, in regards to the Islamic solution for Palestine, for Gaza, like you got two elements. One element is a land is occupied, and the other element is it's not just occupied, but these people are committing ethnic cleansing, they're committing genocide. What does Islam? What's the solution that Islam gives us on how to deal with this problem?
Yeah, barakallahu fik. Akhi. Again, the solution here is very clear cut. There is no second solution, no third solution. What Islam says, and by the way, here, YouTube, I'm not inciting for anything, YouTube. This is just our religion. That's what our religion says. There's no way for anyone to change this. Okay. So the UN will not be able to change this. Nobody can change this. And it's going to become a reality no matter. We believe that this was written in the Lawh al-Mahfuz. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already written, okay, that there will be a time pretty soon. When I say pretty soon, not necessarily tomorrow. When I say pretty soon, it means that we're not talking about in 10 centuries from now. No, no, no. It's a few years. We believe this is Allah Ta'ala has written it in the Lawh al-Mahfuz that one day will come where Palestine will be liberated by the Muslims, and it will be again a Muslim land. Okay, people from other religions will live in Palestine. We're not talking here about people of other religions, minorities. There are Christians that Palestine is their land. Okay, it's their land, and they were never kicked out of that land. We know the deal that Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu he made when he made the Fath, when he was given the keys to Jerusalem and everything. So we're not talking here about, as they call them again, minorities as individuals. Our problem is with a state that came as a state, as a group, as a power, came to invade our land. This is our land as Muslims, and it has to be liberated. And the liberation, obviously, because you're not dealing with some gangsters in the street who are threatening you with sticks and rocks. No, you're dealing here with a military superpower. It will have to be a liberation by force. There's no other solution to this. Okay, and this will happen again if YouTube is not happy with what I'm saying, or anyone else. You can get rid of me, get rid of the video, but you cannot get rid of this reality that will happen eventually one day. There's no way for anyone to change it. That doesn't depend on me. I'm basically nobody in this reality. I'm not someone who's going to create it or change it. Allah Ta'ala has written it. It's the duty of the Muslims to liberate the Muslim lands. If they are not able to do so, they have to get ready to do so. And one day there'll be a generation, there'll be a group of people who will liberate Palestine.
Subhanallah. It's funny in your response, because I was thinking about this the other day, that like the kuffar, they have, like, many Muslims, they've like put us in a box, and within that box they've given us options: boycott, these things, the things which are acceptable. But the actual methodology of removing the occupation over decades, even from the times of maybe like the colonialists in Algeria and from those days, they have made the word jihad so scary for Muslims that they don't even want to say it. I know Muslims who will say the J word. They won't even say the actual word. But there's a big disconnection between Islam and because this is something which is such a key concept in Islam. But okay, subhanallah, I think the answer was clear. And YouTube, no one's inciting any hatred or killing. An occupation, a physical occupation, can only be removed with another, not occupation, but another physical force. And this is just reality.
It's just a reality, and it will happen. And again, not me and you, or not like people like me and you. Again, like I said in the beginning of this episode, who have never tasted fear or test or hunger or whatever. We're just enjoying our life. But there's, again, if those people who think that by just by deleting some content online or by banning someone, they're going to prevent this reality. No, because it's like in the time of Musa alayhi salam. The story of Musa alayhi salam. We all know when Fir'aun, he was told about that dream that there's going to be someone from Banu Israel who will be born, right? And he will end his reign, and he will be his enemy. And what did Fir'aun do? He started killing the children of Banu Israel, right or wrong. And the one that was meant to be the one doing the real thing, well, it was Musa alayhi salam, Prophet Moses, and he was in his own room, right? So فَأَتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَمْ يَحْتَسِبُوا. There's nothing that some things can be matters of ijtihad, whatever. You can say, oh, this might happen, like this might not. But things, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have the famous hadith of what's his name? I just forgot the name of the Sahabi here. uh, Ibn Hawala, the hadith of Ibn Hawala, in which Rasulullah sallallahu told him, إذا رأيت الخلافة نزلت الأرض المقدسة, that one day the khilafah, when you will see the khilafah getting established in the land Qaddasa, like the ulama, they said, meaning the land of Jerusalem, then you should know that the end of time will be very, 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 very near. Okay. And Khilafah has never been, the capital of the Khilafah has never been in Jerusalem yet. So this is something that will happen in the future. So we know that this is something that will happen. It finished. Allah Ta'ala has already written this in the Qadr.
Subhanallah, Subhanallah. So, going on to a really important question, I think. I think a lot of people are asking this, a lot of lay people like myself. This event has been going on since October 7th. We've seen tens of thousands of people being killed. We've seen the impunity that the Zionists are acting with. What they are doing now, people wouldn't do that to animals. This is happening in front of all of our eyes. And at the moment, it seems like no one is doing anything, or no one can do anything to stop what's happening. However, in this scenario, Ustad, what's the responsibility of the ulama, the imams, the duat? In these circumstances, what's our responsibility? Because the leaders are not doing anything, and we see this for sure. But obviously, that's a different matter. But right now, a lot of people like myself, you look towards the people of knowledge for guidance. Like in this situation where what's happening, it's not even hidden. It's just on another scale. Like surely, what should we be expecting of those who are in that position of knowledge? Or even going back to our podcast we recorded a month ago, who are the inheritors of the prophets?
Nah, barakallahu feek. Well, this is a very, very difficult question, Akhil Habib. Uh, Look, the first thing, I don't know if you're going to talk also after about the responsibility of the awam, the layman, the Muslims in general.
You can bring. I was going to ask you that in regards to
Okay, so let's start with the ulama first, and then we'll talk about the rest. Okay, but one key point here to be able to answer both. Okay, is to understand. One has to understand. Look, we should not be. Yeah, we have emotions in these times. We have emotions. We see what's going on. We think obviously there's going to be a lot of emotions. Okay, but it has to be those moments where if you want to understand what's going on and what needs to be done, then you have to put emotions aside. Okay, you have to put emotions aside, whether positive or negative emotions. There's a lot of negative emotions. Obviously, a lot of people there, going through a lot of sadness and so on and so forth. And on the other side, some people, they throw a lot of positive, extremely positive emotions where, this is amazing. The Ummah is waking up and everything because he saw, so many people, first time he saw so many people around him in a demonstration on the street. They're like, it's amazing. The world is waking up. No, please don't go to that extent. Okay. Extreme emotions are never good. They're never good. So the point here is to understand and to just accept that the situation of our ummah today, is miserable. It's so bad. Okay? And that our problem is so complex. It's not an easy thing. So if I start talking about the Ahlul Ilm, the Ulema, yes, last time we have spoken about the role, again, the heirs of the prophets. We made a whole podcast about that, and the Ulema and the people of knowledge definitely have big responsibility. However, here you're talking about the issue, the matter. We all agree here that Palestine is the big thing. We all agree on that, okay? If someone does not understand what I'm talking about, look how the priorities of the whole world have changed since October, just 2 months, okay? All around the world, akhi. It has become the number one issue. Even non-Muslims in the West, some people, non-Muslims, even inside a family, they're having frictions, right? Who should you side with? Should you go with this part? Okay, so this is a big thing, and this is the one thing that your enemy is not gonna give up on. Okay, they're not going to give up on. It's not they're not going to just accept you or try to be lenient on it, because this is, again, you're hitting, you're hitting the nail, as they say. Okay, so Ahlul Ilm, the ulama, for ulama to be strong, for ulama to be truly heirs of the prophets, number one, they have to be independent. Okay? How independent our ulama, the people of knowledge, are. What I'm trying to say here is, yes, they definitely have responsibilities, love responsibilities, but at the same time, people should not be expecting from them the unexpected. Okay? Don't expect from them the impossible. I'll explain what I mean by that. Our ulama are not like ulama of the past, back in the days, where they just feared, one ruler. There's just that one ruler or one qadi that's going after them, and they, or they feared some other sect like al-Mu'tazila, whatever, right? No. Today, akhi, the ulama, just like me and you, they are living inside the same bubble, inside the same system that sets you limits everywhere. We have limits everywhere. You have limits on the minbar. You have, even you as a normal Muslim, akhi, not you, Majid, I'm talking about, the people who are watching us. You have limits. Like you said before, we have to use code words nowadays. You see people on the internet, right? When they write, even in Arabic, they write Israel, and then sometimes the alif, they change it with the dollar sign or with an I, English I or something. So because they think the algorithm might get me, flagged or banned. So look, it got to a point where even like my discussion with my brother, I have to use code word to talk about what's happening to the Muslims in Palestine. And this is a global thing, okay? We are surrounded by everywhere. Even the world in which we live, look, I cannot talk to my brother anymore. Obviously, we live in different lands, me and you, but still, the natural way nowadays, the normal way of me interacting with my brother in Islam is through WhatsApp, through Zoom, through whatever. It's not like we meet at the masjid and let's talk about Palestine. When did you see this last, Akhi? When did you see a group of 5, 6 brothers sitting down at the masjid talking about what's happening in Gaza? When did you see this last?
You do see it, but the discussion is not actually focused on what needs to be done. It's more to do with maybe fundraising and stuff like this.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a meeting about some specific project. Okay, but
Yeah.
when do you see, like, a group of Muslim brothers just like sitting down in the masjid talking about, look what's happening there. Subhanallah, even in the worst times of the of history, the worst, yeah, the darkest days, again, times of the Tatar and the Crusaders and everything, it was normal for Muslims to just meet at the masjid and, like, cry, make dua, talk to each other, say, what should we do? What's the situation about? We can't even do that nowadays. It's like we are living in a world where everything has to be virtual. Again, it has to go through that big data, big brother filter. Okay. Again, at the masjid, even the imam has taken into consideration many things before talking. And by the way, one of the worst things you have to take into consideration is, let me tell you, as a khatib, I do khutbah every week. One of the worst and toughest things and saddest things you have to take into consideration nowadays is how much are the Muslims ready to accept, you know, if I tell them the truth. These people are in front of me. Okay, I'm not even talking again about what they call big brother and everything. Talking about the Muslims, the crowd sitting in front of you. Are some of them going to think that, you know, this guy is going too far? You know what some brother told me last time? Khutbah of Jumu'ah. This was, you know, in the heart of what, like I said before, you know, like we have never experienced hunger, whatever we're telling those people, you should go learn Aqidah, people of Gaza. Go learn Aqidah like me, you know. So the normal dua that I made in my Jumu'ah, Allahumma ansur al-Muslimin fi Palestine وفي غزة اللهم عليك بالظالمين فإنهم لا يعجزونك. Okay, so something around these lines. So, oh Allah, give victory to the Muslims in Palestine, protect them. Ya Allah, take care of the oppressors, ظالمين. Okay, brother comes to me after the khutbah with his friend. It's like, you know, I think you should be careful with the dua you make, you know, because they're looking at us nowadays, and even this dua, you're not willing to accept it. Even this small, you know, cute little dua, it's too much for you. So this is the crowd. This is not obviously everyone's case, but this is a sample of many Muslims who are sitting in front of you, okay? And trust me, akhi, believe me, we have seen this with many experiences before. We have to learn from history in our lifetime, not even history from the books, okay? If, inshallah, it will not happen, but if, let's say, the Banu Israel, they will crush the Muslims in Gaza, okay? They will crush them. They will crush them. They will erase Gaza from the existence. And in 2-3 years, it will be over, be finished. They will send them elsewhere. They will turn it into a secular, small town like this, okay? And you can't talk about Gaza anymore. Trust me, akhi. Some Muslims who are standing up for Gaza today, they will flip their speech 180 degrees, and they will say, oh, it's that some extreme imam, he used to tell us, you know, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I used to hear him in the minbar in London or in New York or whatever. He used to always say, you know, Gaza, 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 Gaza. Like, that was Khawarij. Those people were Khawarij, okay? The same person who's today in the demonstrations in Gaza, what can you do for Gaza? Because not everyone has thabat, okay? Again, if you don't have some basic strength of Iman, some basic, you know, information, some basic knowledge about the deen and everything, you will change. You can change. You will go with the wind. You will go with the wind. Today, everyone is going to demonstrations. Why do people go to demonstrations, Akhi? Question. Why do people go to demonstrations? Why do Muslims go to demonstrations?
To be honest with you, I think it's a emotional response, and it's the frustration, the anger they have. They just need some form of releasing that.
Barakallahu feek, Jazakallah khair. So not everyone goes to demonstrations. This is a hidden, you know, like Riya, you know, Riya, showing off. Riya is the hidden shirk. This is a hidden form of selfishness, okay, being selfish, okay, that maybe a lot of people, they're not aware of, even when it comes to themselves, subhanallah. Definitely many people go to demonstrations, you know, to try to do something for Gaza, that's for sure. But many people go to demonstrations not to do something for Gaza, to do something for themselves. It's like, you know, I'm feeling so much sadness inside my heart. You know, I can't take this anymore. I just want to go to the streets, see people who are feeling like me. It's going to be like a group therapy. We're just going to scream, all of us, you know, free Palestine.
To be honest with you, Ustad, I would argue that, and I'm not saying this in a malicious sense.
Yes.
I would argue that the majority are like this. And the reason why I'm saying that is, if you're going out on a demonstration calling for a ceasefire, but you know that they're not going to have a ceasefire, that in Parliament they ruled against a ceasefire, but then you're going against asking for a ceasefire, surely people are not stupid. They know this is not going to happen, but they just feel like they need to do something.
Exactly.
I would say that's probably a majority of people, not in a bad way, but it's just human nature, maybe.
Exactly. Well, again, if it's I want to do something for those people, and that's the only thing I can do, I cannot find anything else to do. That's you know, that's understandable. The intention is good, the niyyah is good. But the problem here, again, I'm not judging anyone. I'm just reminding. This is just a reminder. فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى. Just a
Mm.
reminder for brothers and sisters who are listening. If you go to demonstrations, I didn't say demonstrations are good or bad. I have a video about that, by the way, in which I talk about demonstrations. What's the good, what's the bad about it? But just one thing to be careful with is, again, are you just going there just to release your frustration, just so that you can, finally I can go back to my normal life? And the sign of that is that, again, you went to 2-3 demonstrations. I'm done. I did what I had to do for Gaza. Now let's go back to life as usual. Okay. So again, here, if you go back to the ulama, akhi, how much can you ask the ulama? How much can you ask? Like, how much leverage do they have? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran al-Karim, وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. We should obey Allah, obey the messenger, and then we should obey ulul amr. So ulul amr are the leaders of the ummah. So again, the madkhali is always wali amr, is the Muhammad bin Salman, MBS. Wali Amr, if you go back to the books of tafsir, you can check tafsir Tabari, Qurtubi, others. The general idea that comes of it, they say, humul ulama wal umara. They say they are the ulama, the people of knowledge, as well as the umara, the legitimate political leaders of the Muslims. So there's let's say, again, if we're in the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, so ulul amr would be who that we have to obey. We have Umar ibn Abdul Aziz is the Khalifa, and we also have to obey the ulama, the major ulama in the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, especially again in the major issues, the top nawazil, the big matters, okay, war and peace and so on and so forth. In the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, with all honesty, akhi, me and you, we would not having this podcast, even if technology existed, because it would not be a good thing for us to talk about it. ولو ردوه إلى الرسول وإلى أولي الأمر منهم لعلمه الذين يستنبطونه منهم. We will let the ulama and Amirul Mu'mineen have their own podcast, and they will deal with it.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, right? We would let them deal with Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, right? He would deal with it, and we are just Muslims who are ready to obey and to execute. We are here. We are here to do whatever you tell us to do, as long as not, again, the book of Allah, Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But today, akhi, who obeys the ulama? Do people ask themselves, since we don't have any legitimate political leader as Muslims, we don't have that, okay? We don't have a Khalifa, and we don't even have like a small group like this that has some leverage. What's the other alternative? Have we lost anything? No, we haven't lost anything. Alhamdulillah, the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect. He has answers to all situations. So an ummah with no leadership is a zero. You know how they call us ummatul milyar, the ummah of 1 billion? Okay, we can be the ummah of milyar, or we can be ummatul asfar. We can be the ummah of the zeros, because 1 billion is one and then so many zeros after. Okay, so that quantity with no ingredients, one of those ingredients being the proper leadership, become zeros. We are zero. That's what we are today. We cannot do anything. When I say, sorry, akhi, what can I do for Gaza? Like, we'll talk about this in a moment, inshallah. What can I do for Gaza? Not much. What can you do for Gaza, akhi? I don't know, not much. We're zero, 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 zeros. So one of the reasons why we are zeros is because we don't have any leadership. So there's the leadership that does not even exist. And then there's the leadership that's there, has the potential, but we don't give it its right. So again, are Muslims aware of their obligation to give some right of obedience to the ulama, to the people of knowledge who are trustworthy? When you have, like, if I have a alim, person of knowledge, if I trust their knowledge and I trust their integrity, I know that this is alim shaykhun rabbani, I love them, I don't doubt them. That implies that if they tell me something, they order me something that's maslaha al-amma, that touches, to the general maslaha of the Muslims, I should not go against it. That's how it works in Islam. وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ طَاعَةُ أُولِي الْأَمْرِ هُمُ الْعُلَمَاء. Especially if they start gathering. Nowadays, people don't listen to the ulama. They don't listen to the people of knowledge. Again, even you as a khatib, and I'm not talking about myself, by the way, okay? I'm talking here about this is, from east to west, this is the state of the ummah, especially in the Arab countries. Even if they love the khatib and the sheikh, whatever, but it's entertainment. He's a good speaker. I like the way he talks. But when he says something, I don't know what he's talking about. So that being said, of course, the ulama, people of knowledge, the Imma, the Du'at, they still have a role. Okay. So one question, one brother, he sent me a message last time, one nice brother, mashallah. He's talking about the khutab, the khutaba. So the fact that he's having difficulty finding nice khutab, going to a masjid where there's going to be a good khutbah about Palestine. Okay. Now the question is, what's a good khutbah about Palestine? Believe me, Akhiyam, it's very difficult for me these days to pick the topic, to pick the content for the khutbah. Why? Because on one hand, you have the expectations of people, which is normal. Okay. Most people, they expect the khutbah to have something to do with Palestine. Okay. It's normal. So cannot be that everybody's talking about this and they come to the masjid, I'm going to talk to you about, something completely different. That being said, at the same time, akhi, we're not there to please people. We're there to do our duty, which is to fulfill the idea of Jumu'ah, which is to teach the deen and to do the maw'idah and everything. And this issue has been there for many weeks now. What if it drags on for months to come? What if it drags on for years to come? Is every single khutbah going to be officially about Gaza, about Palestine? Obviously not. And if it's about Gaza or Palestine, okay, does it have to be, Al Jazeera news reports where I'm going to tell people, because again, this is a nice way to escape, to run away, is that I'm just going to tell people what they already know. Okay, I can go on the minbar and say, look what's happening. They have killed this many. Oh, and they killed people at this school. And did you say those people, they can't even eat? And people say, Alhamdulillah, thank you very much. You told us what we wanted to hear. And we go home. That's not the idea of the khutbah here. And what have we really changed? Not much. So the way I see it, akhi, is that we should, again, go back, because Rasulullah has explained to us in many ahadith. I don't have the time again to cover all of this, but he has clearly explained to us, alayhi salatu salam, that the situation in which we are today is when we turn away from the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the time to bring people back to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When I say bringing people back to the deen of Allah azza wa jal, this can be kalimatu haqqin urida biha batil. Okay, sometimes a word of truth, but that's being used to promote falsehood, which the Madkhalis typically do. The Sufis that are agents of the UAE, whatever, they typically do the same thing. So the Sufis, they will tell you, you see what the state of the Muslims is. If you listen to Hamza Yusuf and everything, they say, okay, this is because of your sins. You people, because of your sins, just work on your spirituality, on your heart. This is what we have to do. Go back to the deen of Allah. Oh, yes, go back to the deen of Allah. But what going back to the deen of Allah means, now they twisted it. Okay? The Madkhalis, they will say the same thing. We have to go back to the Sunnah, akhi. I don't know if you saw that. Did you see the video of that Madkhali Sheikh in Egypt? It was viral.
I think so.
The one that covered his head, it covered his face. Did you see it?
No, I don't think I did not.
It was viral. It's viral because this guy became a joke. Like these madkhalis, subhanallah, they have no limit. Every time you think they've hit the lowest point, they go even more. Okay, so he took like he had a kind of a shawl like this he was putting on himself. And he's saying, Ya Aba Ubaidah, Ya Aba Ubaidah, oh Abu Ubaidah, Abu Ubaidah, the one that he's always nowadays in the media, Al Jazeera and everything. It's like, oh Abu Ubaidah, because Abu Ubaidah these days, he's become, again, YouTube, I'm not promoting anyone, okay? I'm just saying what it is. In the Arab world, you know how the Arab populations, they're lost, okay? They have no heroes. They have been destroyed so much psychologically that for the past few decades, the only heroes were soccer players. So you go to Arab countries, typically coffee shops and men smoking cigarette, drinking coffee, looking at some I don't know, Manchester in the UK or some Italian club or Spanish, Real Madrid, whatever. And they're trying to find a hero in their life. There's a big void. They're trying to find a hero because they see defeat everywhere. They see like everything is. Suddenly they have this man, face covered, only the eyes they can see, right? And he comes with like these, motivational words every day on Al Jazeera. So he has become the hero of the moment. Which, to be honest with you, I don't predict this to last for long. Again, it's just emotions. Okay, it's a temporary thing. Now, because he is the hero of the moment, this Madkhali Sheikh, he had this video, we was talking, I think, in the masjid. So he takes his like shawl, like he had like this or whatever, الغطرة, and he covers his face just like Abu Ubaidah. He does like this to mock him. In reality, he's mocking himself. Okay,
Mm.
that's why some people, yeah, go, go be like Rabbatul Khudur, go hide at home. So he does like this, like, yeah, Abu Ubaidah, yeah, Abu Ubaidah, you want to do تريد أن تجاهد جاهد بالسنن. You want to do jihad with the sunnah. Go start applying the sunnah. Okay, so again, this is someone qa'id sitting down, and go you sunnah, go back to the sunnah. So for
Mm.
the madkhalis, you want Palestine to be liberated. This is how a typical madkhali would tell you. You want Palestine to be liberated, obey your ruler, make sure we respect our government, so that Muslim countries like Saudi, UAE, whatever, according to what they claim, will become quiet. There will be no more fitna. Our hearts will become united around MBS. Okay, and then you want Palestine to be liberated. Make sure to apply every sunnah in your salat. Make sure to do your adhkar sabah al masa in the morning. Make sure when you do wudu, you respect every sunnah. Okay, every sunnah. All of this is right, by the way. Okay, we promote sunnah. We obviously promote sunnah. I'm not from the people of bid'ah, alhamdulillah. We obviously promote sunnah, but everything has its time. Right or wrong, akhi? Everything has
Of course.
its time. So if someone is having problems with his wife or with his child who's taking drugs, or if you are having some serious financial difficulties, your business is losing, and you lost money, and you have dain that you're not able to reimburse and to pay back and everything. Okay, I'm not gonna tell you, akhi, you want a solution to your financial problems, akhi, start applying the sunnah in salat, and don't just apply sunnah in salat, and you will see your relationship with your wife will become amazing, and your business will start going. Nothing to do with this, nothing. There's obviously an indirect effect that we all believe in. There's an indirect effect of every ta'ah, every act of obedience, every salat, every sunnah. It has an indirect effect of putting more barakah in our life. But we're talking here about, if you don't do the direct measures, don't come talking about the indirect measures after. So the madkhalis will tell you, going back to the deen, this is what it means. No, we say, yes, of course, to liberate Palestine and to take away all of the, basically to come out of all of these calamities. Number one, we have to come back to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But going back to the deen of Allah azza wa jal as a whole, as a aqidah, the wala, the bara, as a sharia, maybe I'm jumping again, like you said before, you wanted to address the question here. When people, they say, what can I do? Not just the ulama, but when people, they say, what can I do to help people of Gaza? What do you want? Do you want me to tell you what to do right now to solve the problem right now? That's what people, they're looking for. Then, akhi, I don't have anything to give you. I really have nothing to give you. What can you do? Like, honestly, what can you do? A lot of brothers, that's what they come and ask. They come and say, Sheikh, what can we do to help people of Gaza? Like, seriously, akhi. To do something right now, like that's going to have a direct effect tomorrow. What do I have for you? What do I have for you? Unless, I don't know, unless you're the brother of some of some big one of the big rulers, in the Muslim land, and you heard it's your brother or your, I don't know, your uncle or something, and he told you that he's interested to make tawbah, he wants to come back to Allah Ta'ala and enter Islam again, and he wants to liberate Palestine, then you're a special person. But for the normal people, what can you do? I have nothing that I can do. There's nothing that you can do to my knowledge, akhi. But what we
I
can
think,
do.
one quick point, Ustad. I think that's
Yes,
due to short-sightedness.
yes,
It's we live in times in a society where you want the fix and you want it now.
exactly. Barakallahu fiqh. It's like I want it now, but also people don't understand that this is a marathon. If you're not able to enroll in the marathon, please just be honest with yourself and say, I have issues. I have issues, and I'm not doing what I'm not willing to do what I need to do for this ummah. Okay, so I just want to keep living my life, because if me included, if we want to do something for Gaza, for Palestine, there's some major changes we need to do in our lives, akhi. There's some major changes to do that we can do in our lives. Why? Let me explain to you. Here, maybe we're getting into the next question. And this is an extremely important point. Wallahi, akhi. I think this is probably the most important point that I wanted to mention in this podcast. We have to understand that us as Muslims today, as I'm not talking necessarily for everyone, okay? I don't know about the situation of all the Muslims in Asia and everything. I cannot claim to answer for them. But if I talk about the Muslims in the West and the Muslims in most Arab countries, okay? We are prisoners. We are prisoners of a system, whether we know it or not. We are living lives of prisoners. We were born in the system, akhi. It's called, again, the global world, the global system. It has many faces to it, many components to it. One of it being capitalism, okay? We are all capitalists, akhi, by force, okay? We are forced to be capitalists. We are living a capitalist system. Even between you and your brother in Islam, when you make business, you make it the capitalist way, okay? So there's capitalism. There's obviously liberalism, okay? There's, again, technology that's part of it. So the media, the social media, as I said before, our means of communication. Just the fact, again, that, look, I have to do a podcast. I have to make a video to be able to convey my message, because if you do the same thing at the masjid, people do not come to the masjid. Not they don't come to the masjid to listen to you. No, no, no. Most Muslims don't even show up to the masjid. They don't even come to pray to Allah Azza wa Jal. So our point, why is Salatul Jama'ah so important in Islam? Why is it either sunnah mu'akkada or wajib, according to many ulama? It's either sunnah, very important sunnah, or wajib in Islam. Salatul Jama'ah, the prayer of congregation. Someone can say praying at home is better, akhi. Have more khushu'. It's more convenient. I can make my salat longer than the salat of the imam. I can make dua for as long as I want in my sujood. No, there's a reason for Salatul Jama'ah. The ulama, they mentioned, because in Salatul Jama'ah, that's how you keep the community connected. We meet Salatul Isha. Oh, there's a brother who's ill. He needs help at the hospital. Some brother, he passed away this morning, and his family, he left a widow, he left this, he needs janazah and everything. We talk about all of that at the masjid. Look how we have canceled the masjid. Okay, we have boycotted the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't have time for it. If we go there, it's express in, express out. Last time in Ramadan, talking again about Palestine. It was Ramadan. Ashr al-Awakhir, the last 10 nights. This might go back to the issue here of, talk about the ulama and the mashayikh, the du'at, what's their role here. It's a shared responsibility, akhi. You cannot tell them this is your role, and on the other side, people are just, consumers waiting for someone to do the job for them. So it was in the Ashr al-Awakhir, the last 10 nights of Ramadan. You know how it is, akhi, the last 10 nights of Ramadan, we get pretty busy, right? So obviously, we have to do a little bit more ibadah. We don't claim to be like Sahaba and everything, but we still have to bring the game to a higher level. And, personally, just like, many du'at and everything, you have more to offer at the masjid. So you have to give lectures, and durus and everything. So it gets busy, very busy. With siyam, iftar, suhoor, the last 10 of Ramadan go very fast, okay? So I think it was the second or the third night of the last 10 nights. I think after Salatul Maghrib, I don't remember exactly the context. So this uncle comes to me at the masjid. He said, how come he didn't say anything about Palestine? I said, why? He said, you didn't see what they did in Masjid al-Aqsa? You didn't watch the news and everything? I said, well, I have no idea. He said, yeah, it happened yesterday and still it's happening today, everything. I said, I have no idea. Again, last 10 nights, I was pretty disconnected from the news. I did not check the news, whatever. So because he said it, I went and I checked the news and everything. I said, yeah, it's true. There's something happening in Masjid al-Aqsa. And again, these people, the Yahud and everything, but Israel, they were entering and they were throwing, gas bombs inside and so on and so forth. So the next day, Salatul Tarawih, I do my typical 10 minutes because that's how limited it is. 10 minutes. Mid Tarawih, you have to give a small reminder to people. So I start talking about Masjid al-Aqsa, Palestine. So this is a big topic now. I'm talking to you about something big.
Mm.
5, 6 minutes into my talk, akhi, I see people, they start looking at the watch, the time. Looking at the time. They're in a hurry, akhi. They're afraid that, my speech is going to go longer than 10 minutes. Like, let's resume Salatul Taraweeh. So you're expecting me to talk about Palestine, but you don't have the patience to right? If we were truly believers, akhi, wallahi, if we were truly believers, it would be the other way around. Like, no, wallahi, Sheikh, we're not doing Salat Taraweeh until we deal with this. We need to talk about this. Even if we're staying until suhoor in this masjid today. There's something happening in Masjid al-Aqsa. As Muslims here, we should talk about this, discuss, and make dua for them and everything. And then we're gonna do Salat Taraweeh. It's okay. We're here until Salat, until suhoor. Let's take the time that it needs, because we call this nazila. This is how it was to be used to be in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These were special circumstances, and one Sahabi, Bilal, whatever, would call a Salat Jami'ah, and the Sahaba would come to the masjid, and it's time to talk about something exceptional, important, some big event. Now, as I said, I'm not blaming those musallis at the masjid. No, no, no. What I'm trying to say here, akhi, is that look, we don't go to the masjid. We go to the masjid, we have very limited attention span. Okay? We go to the masjid just to sign in, sign off. My mind is somewhere else. My time is controlled by someone else, by the system. I have my, obviously, last few months became very famous, Andrew Tate and his Matrix. And the youngsters, they like a lot of children and kids and teenagers. They like this concept of the Matrix and everything. Okay, I'm not making a reference here. Call it the Matrix, call it whatever you want. This concept here of the global system that's controlling the minds of people, controlling our lives, akhi. The ulama I have tons of books here and tons of books, PDF and everything. Ulema of Islam, the modern present day ulama of Islam, they have written, thousands of pages about this and lectured so much about this. But the Muslims were not willing to listen. Okay, the Muslims were just saying that you guys are just jealous. You just want to bring us back in time. You don't want us to enjoy more modernity and so on and so forth. Look at our state today, akhi. That's why I said we have to accept the fact. I'm sorry, like if people find that this is too difficult for them to listen to how can I say? It's not it's not sugar. It's not
It's not sugar coated.
yeah, it's not sugar candy, whatever they call it, cotton candy, whatever. I'm sorry, but it's the reality, akhi. We are prisoners. We are prisoners. That's why we cannot do much for the people of Gaza. They are prisoners as well. They are under siege. The difference is they are aware that they are prisoners. You know what our example is, akhi? Look, imagine if there's a big jail. There's a big jail, okay? People like me and you and millions of others, they put us in the VIP section, where we can eat as much as we want. We can play. We can, you can joke around. We have some nice gardens inside the jail, inside the prison and everything, to the point that they made us forget where we are exactly, okay? And then you have the lower level. They're crushing them. They know, because they said, no, we don't want to be in jail. So they're crushing them day and night, day and night. They're crushing them. That's the difference between us and them. We are as, limited in our action as they are, akhi. And the proof for that, again, is that, look, akhi, everything around us in our lives, again, has boundaries. Not boundaries set by the natural, boundaries of this life. Obviously, Allah Ta'ala has created natural boundaries of this life. There's al-faqir wal-ghani. There's the poor people, those who are poor. There's those who have physical handicap. Those are boundaries, natural boundaries in life. I'm not talking about that, akhi. I'm not talking about that, right? We all know, akhi, that, look, any person, not even Muslim, any person in this world today, again, that we call the civilized world, whatever, any person, in a moment, it can be either because they said something that the system is not happy with, or it can be just a mistake, okay, a mistake of someone in the office. With a button, your assets can be taken away from you. Okay, so you're a doctor, you're a businessman, whatever. You have I was gonna say dollars, say pounds. Let me be British for a bit. You have 500 pounds in your bank account. Okay, you can wake up one morning and go, card is not working. Why? Well,
It happens.
someone made, it happens all the time, right?
Happens.
It happened not just to Muslims, by the way, okay, even to not some non-Muslims because of some political whatever. So we we don't have freedom, akhi. And which leads me to another point. I don't know if you were going to ask this, but also money, akhi, money. I'm sorry, I'm going to say something again. Some people maybe are not happy with this, with what I'm going to say with, but please, if someone can prove me wrong, this is the type of situations where you say, I would be so happy to be proven wrong. I would be so happy. If someone proves that I'm ignorant about this, alhamdulillah, say jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for answering me. Question is, how do we send donations to Gaza? You see, all of these organizations nowadays, including Muslim charities, everything, donations going to Gaza. Uh, I have been reluctant to say this for 2 months, okay, since this has started. I spoke about it, some brothers, just to make sure that I'm not the only person, thinking this. They said, yeah, we agree with you. We're having the same. Where are the donations to Gaza going to? How are they going to Gaza? Gaza is closed. Not a box of needle can enter Gaza. Okay? How are you people collecting donations for Gaza? I don't understand. These these Islamic charities or even non-Muslim charities, whatever, unless maybe we don't know, they have their own, Air Force. They have their own Air Force and F-16s, whatever, to deliver. Even Egypt, look, the secular government of Egypt, which is an open enemy to Islam, okay, and normalization and everything, okay. The foreign affairs minister of Egypt this week, because now they kind of have to save their face because they're scared of, their population turning against them and everything. So they have to start justifying what's going on. He said there is no truck that can enter to Palestine without the validation of Israel.
I think I saw this on Al Jazeera.
Yes. So this is a border in which there is no Israel. Okay. This is a border. It's called the Egypt-Gaza border. It's Rafah. There is no Israel there. There is no Israel. This is your border. So if people of Gaza, they say, yeah, we want that truck to enter. And you as an Egyptian, you say, yeah, I checked it that there's only oil and cereal inside. So I have no problem with it entering. It should enter. No, this guy, foreign minister of affairs, telling you, no, that truck is not going to enter unless Israel says yes. You see what's happening here? And then I have these small Muslim charities in the West that have sometimes 3 employees. Some of them, they don't even know how the Arab world looks like. They have never went through a struggle in their life. If you, wallahi, akhi, I have searched. I did some research. I have looked online, Twitter, and everything. And you see some Muslim figures with a lot of influence in the Arab world, and some mashayikh and everything, with some pretty big networks. They have access to information. They know people in Gaza, outside of Gaza, and everything. They're asking the same question, does anyone know about a way to send help to Gaza, financial? No, they can't find a way to send help. So I don't know what are these Muslim charities doing by collecting all of this, money. Let's send money to Gaza. Let's send money. There is no way to send money to Gaza.
To be honest with you, Ustad, I think at this stage, I would personally link this similarly to the issue of when we talk about protesting and that feeling that people have, they've done their bit.
Exactly.
Ultimately, intentions are
Exactly.
good. Intentions are good, but ultimately,
I understand, akhi. The one given the donation, I completely respect that. This is sadaqah fi sabilillah azza wa jal. If they done it with a very clean heart, naively, husnul dhan. But now people need to start waking up, ask some questions. And again here, because I'll tell you one thing, okay? Even those people in charge of these Muslim charities, okay? A lot of them, they are ignorant as well, because I'll tell you how it works. They are used to taking money, just like before. They take money, sadaqah or zakat and everything, and then give it to some UN-related organization in Palestine. Okay? The UNRWA and everything. You transfer the money there, and then they will redistribute it. Akhi, you can't do this. It's haram in the deen. You can't do this. That's a secular organization. The UNRWA, even before this war, akhi, they were promoting feminism and liberty inside Gaza. Akhi. They were corrupting the aqidah of the Muslimin. Okay, and then here some Muslim charity says, "Oh, we accept zakat for Gaza." By the way, check the UNRWA account on Twitter. I think they I don't know if you heard about this Twitter. These called X right now, but I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago. The UNRWA, akhi, I think in their Arabic account, they said, we accept, you can give us your zakat. They said UNRWA. Yeah, they said, we accept zakat for Palestine and everything. So call Muslims to give them zakat. So giving your zakat to the UN, no, 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 definitely that counts as zero. Okay, your third pillar of Islam not fulfilled. So again, what I'm trying to say here, akhi, look, we are at a point where we are so imprisoned that you cannot even send a piece of bread to your brothers who are suffering. You see what's going on, akhi? You cannot even send a piece of bread. Every $10 you transfer, akhi, has to go through that global system. They have to check it. They have to say, who are you? Where's it going? People, even before this war, by the way, some people, they were from Palestine, from Gaza. They live in the West, so they're wealthy, they're doctors, whatever. They send money to their relatives in Gaza. And it would get flagged sometimes by the bank. Sometimes it gets canceled. Sometimes it gets returned, right? So we have to be aware of this reality that we are living in a big prison. If people don't like it, don't like what I'm saying, it's up to them. But I'm doing my duty. I'm just explaining to you why is it that we cannot help. Talk about boycott. What are people boycotting nowadays?
Starbucks, McDonald's.
Starbucks, McDonald's. Wallahi, akhi, completely respectable as an intention, as a spontaneous action. Okay? And here, again, I'm not going with the madkhalis, astaghfirullah. Madkhalis, you sense, this evil in the intention, as you said, someone picking up that Starbucks, cup and drinking like this, you sense this challenge toward the ummah. The guy is challenging the ummah, وَمَن يُشَاقِقِ الرَّسُولَ مِن بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ الْهُدَى وَيَتَّبِعْ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. So it's like someone going on a different shiq, different camp than the mu'mineen. The ummah is doing this. Purposely, I'm going to do the opposite. Not because there's a hadith on it. If there's a hadith that says, drink Starbucks, it's good for you, obviously you go against the majority of the ummah who cares about them, right? But filming himself, drinking Starbucks, happy about it. But at the same time, akhi, boycotting Starbucks, you think it's going to weaken such a superpower, akhi? So look, if we want to boycott, let's ask the question here. If you want to boycott, truly want to boycott, akhi, start by boycotting the riba mortgage. Okay? So how many Muslims in the West and even in the Arab countries, by the way, they buy houses with mortgage, akhi, with riba, haram. Now it's not coffee cups anymore. This is big business, big economy, okay? And this is the clear haram. So you don't even need a fatwa that you need to boycott. Just boycott the haram, just boycott the system of haram. Because if you start boycotting consumerism, look, another alternative. Because think about it, how much can we boycott, 2 years ago, people were saying we should boycott China because of the Uyghur and everything. Okay, you're gonna boycott China, like every accessory I have around me here is made in China. And then boycott France because of the cartoons about, the deen and everything. And then boycott Sweden a few months ago because of, again, burning the Quran and everything. Now boycott Starbucks, boycott this. Just going with, these temporary solutions here and there, we know that this is not going to last. Okay, people are not who's going to have the patience of boycotting everything? Okay, now if we just take boycott in a different way, we try our best. I'm not claiming here to be from the Salaf, Salih here. No. I'm not telling you be like me. We try our best, at least to upgrade a little bit, get a little bit better. If we start implementing the concepts of az-zuhd, for example, in Islam, right? Zuhd, in which, in its most practical sense, is very close to the concept of minimalism. Okay, so Minimalism is quite the opposite of consumerism. We have been dragged into consumerism, okay? So buying the latest iPhone, buying the latest this. I need a car, I'm gonna buy the fanciest car just because I have the money. No, not just because you have the money that you're going to buy the fanciest car, because you know that, number one, it's quite opposite to the values here of az-zuhd and everything. And number two, um, go check, akhi, who are the people who, again, I'm not gonna give any brands here as examples because some people think that I'm just have problems with some brands. Go on Wikipedia, check the big brands of cars and technology and so on and so forth, and you can find on Wikipedia who owns those brands. Okay, who owns them? Who's benefiting from every purchase that I make? So if there's a purchase that I need to make, I need to buy a computer, I need to buy a phone, my phone has broken down. Okay, that's completely justified. But I can either buy a phone for $200 that does a decent job for me, depending on what do I need the job for, the phone for. Or no, it's okay, I got the money, $1,500, latest iPhone. You're not helping Gaza like that. And you're not helping the Ummah like that. Okay? So again, we are prisoners of a system. To come out completely of that system is not going to be for tomorrow. But what we can start doing, akhi, is liberating ourselves slowly, gradually. This is a long-term work. A Muslim and a Muslimah inside a couple, married people here, listen to me. Those who are having serious problems, conflicts on secondary, useless things. We know it, akhi. Here in North America, most of marriage problems are related to dollars, okay? No matter what people they say, oh, he doesn't respect me or she doesn't show me whatever, it's dollars. It's dollars, money, okay? It's money, dunya. People live above, way higher than what they can afford. In some situations, again, it's the woman who wants to be, that career lady. She wants to be independent. She has everything at home, alhamdulillah. Allah Ta'ala has given her everything. She's being taken care of. No, but she wants to be independent because she wants to be able to afford, the luxury this, luxury that, luxury this. And then because of that, she or he, so it applies to both, okay? Just talking here because, again, part of this global system, one major component nowadays is feminism. Because of that, family is being destroyed. If Muslims are destroyed at the very elementary cell, which is the family, number one, that's where it all started. That's where it all starts. How are you talking to me about making the Muslims strong and, helping Palestine? What you gonna do exactly? Can't even help myself. Can't even. أقسم لك بالله أخي. By Allah. I'm telling you, by Allah. Wallahi thumma wallahi. I know this from experience, أخي, that many Muslim men do not come to the masjid. Do not come to the masjid. Meaning they don't come to pray Salatul Isha or to stay for the halaqah, whatever. You know why?
They annoys their wives?
Because they're scared of their wife. Okay? Because not because she's mean or she tells him don't go to the masjid. No, not because that. Not like I don't want anyone to understand here that I'm saying that Muslim sisters are telling their husband not to go to the masjid. No, not at all. Because they already have so many problems, okay, that anything can just trigger the next battle. Anything. Okay, anything. So just the fact of him again opening the door and leaving, he knows that whether he was a masjid, coffee shop, doesn't matter. Coming back home, it's gonna go on fire again. Okay, so if we are that weak, akhi, that as a Muslim man, you don't even have the initiative to decide what to do in your own house, what to do with your own life. Billah alayk, how are you going to help Gaza? How are you going to help Gaza? Right? If I'm tied, as I said, to a mortgage for 20 years, here in North America, here Canada, the US, mortgages for 20 years. People, okay? One of the top questions that I receive all the time is mortgage. Okay? Sheikh, salaam alaikum, after Jumu'ah. This is your typical thing. Everyone thinks they're the first person asking this question. I heard that there's another opinion that says I can buy a I answer the person with fiqh, but also I just try to make a person reason a little bit. Do you know what it means to become a slave to a house, to paying a house for the next 20 years? Do you know what it is, akhi?
It's in the
Your
name.
life is
It's in the
Afwan,
mortgage. Obviously, you speak French. From why mortgage? It's from the
yes.
root word mort, and I think it was a death pledge. It's actually it's called death pledge in French.
Mort is death. Yes, exactly.
So mortgage, the actual word mortgage is broken down into mort, and I think I call it or whatever, but it's from the in French is death pledge.
Possibly. I had no idea before. Jazakallah khair. But I know that the first part of it, mort, yes, is death. It is what it is. So again, akhi, once you look, again, akhi, if I have a mortgage, a'udhu billah, if I bought a house 5 years ago, riba, and with COVID and everything, even they have here, I don't know how it works in the UK, but they have variable, uh, varying, how they call it, like in English, I
Interest
forgot.
interest rates and
The
stuff.
interest rates, like it's basically variable, like it changes
Yeah,
depending on the economy. So
that's right. That's right.
yeah, so what many Muslims, there was a time during COVID, okay, where the interest rates were going so low. It was almost 0%. Almost. It went so low, like 0.5%. So many brothers are like, is it halal to do it? But look, it's almost 0%. But people, they sign up to something, they don't even understand the system, okay? Because it's always like those 200 pages you have to sign. Even when you buy, just like you buy a phone, you get all these big agreement, let alone when you buy a house, and you're not going to outplay the bank at these games, right? They have more expertise, more resources to legally defend themselves and to trick you into this. So what happens is that was 3 4 years ago. Now the economy has changed, the interest rates going up, which will affect even me if I bought mortgage 4 years ago. Now my interest rates are going to change. Now something happens. I lost my job. It's life, akhi. We never hope for this, but I can get an accident and become what? I have a handicap now. I cannot, it's life, akhi. My house can go on fire, whatever. The insurance is not going to cover everything. It's life. It's just part of life. We cannot know the ghaib. We cannot know the unseen. Now, a lot of those people, they are like this. Imagine if I have a mortgage for 15 years to come, that every mid-level decision I have to make in my life, I have to look at the payment of the house first. Let me look at the house first. How is it gonna impact that and my ability to pay? You asking such a person, Akhi, to help Gaza, to do something for Gaza?
Yeah, subhanallah. So, to be honest, in regards to all that you said, in regards to the boycotting and the sending money, I totally agree with you. And from what I'm understanding from what you're saying is actually something which I've been pondering about myself. That in reality, the ummah itself is powerful because the ummah has iman, right? It's shackled, like you're saying. It's a prisoner. It's a prisoner of the dunya. It's a prisoner of the system. So if we think about, you mentioned earlier to do with the rulers, to do with how the ulama are not able to do what they want to do or what they should be doing. Then I think that ultimately, from what I'm understanding, is short termism is not going to work. Whether it's Gaza, whether it's going to be Srebrenica, whether it's going to be Sabr Shatila, these things are going to continue happening. The long game is how to liberate the ummah from where it is now. And this is something which is going to happen on many levels. But ultimately it's going to start from the ground. Because when the people are going to get closer where to them, like how you have the hierarchy of values. They call it the hierarchy value system. Like at the moment, it seems like the what we prioritize the most is the dunya, and then things after that, then it's maybe salah and stuff like this. This needs to be turned on its head. This needs to be turned on its head, and this can only come across having an understanding of your deen, understanding as true concepts, rizq, tawakkul, on all these ideas. once the ummah is at that level, then only then can we uh, stop being prisoners. But you can only stop being prisoners when you're now free to live how the fitra has been designed, and you have a system that's in accordance with how you should be living your life. Up until that stage doesn't happen, then ultimately we're all imprisoned. Now, the steps that people can take are small steps. However, they need to be leading in the right direction. And you might not even see that change in your lifetime, you know, and that's irrelevant, because at the end of the day, this is something which Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, requires us. And I think that's the key point here, where right now we're looking for what's going to fix the issue today. So let's talk about Gaza. The reality of Gaza is, you require a Muslim military to stop the killing and to liberate it. Okay, then you think, okay, but that's not happening. But then you need to work backwards. Why is it not happening? Is because of the rulers, is because of the militaries, is because of the people. And basically you work backwards, and then you need to move forwards from that where you are today. And I think that's the important point. And unfortunately, what's happening is we're really being pushed with solutions or actions to do, which are never going to solve the issue. I mean, when Iraq, in the UK, as an example, when the Iraq war happened, 1 million people marched. It didn't change anything. But what it did do, the person comes out, he's going to protest, he's going to exhaust himself. He goes home, Monday he's back to work. Then the weekend after, he might do the same. But how long is he going to do this for? He has
Exactly.
bills to pay. He has mortgages to pay, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
So I think ultimately,
They
all of
will
this,
exhaust you. They will exhaust you. They know that it's a game of exhaustion.
that's all it is.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Akhi, but I didn't want to forget this point, Akhi. Your enemy, Akhi, is a professional enemy. What I mean by a professional enemy, it's a state, or actually many states, it's an alliance of many states. Okay, they've got resources, billions, they've got people who are employees being paid to do that. Okay, being paid to do what they're doing. Okay, we are struggling to have a normal life in the halal already without Gaza, right? You want to stay within the halal and respect your deen and do your salat on time and everything. You're struggling. You do your best to educate your children, to keep your family ties, and at the end of the day, to eat halal like it's important our deen to do. Because again, this system makes it so hard for you to eat halal. They sucked up all the resources from mankind, right? So they only left those small windows where you have to really go and become one of their guys, one of their smaller agents. Then you can have a wealthy lifestyle. But for you to just eat halal without Gaza even, okay? Now you add this big concern of Gaza, and as you said, going to demonstrations every week and everything, is going to exhaust you. You're doing this like sub-volunteer work.
It's
You're
designed
struggling.
to.
Yeah,
It's designed to do that.
exactly.
They won't allow a real revolution, but they will allow you to go out. And in fact, what are you doing? You're asking them to stop it. The people who
Exactly.
are in, like the point you made at the start, the people who are the ones who set this thing up, who are
Yes.
funding it, who are sending weapons there. The
Exactly.
leaders went there straight away to show solidarity. You're asking them. You're exhausting yourself asking them.
Like the Egyptians, they say their expressions say hamiha haramiha. Hamiha. So the guardian, the security guard, is the robber. The robber has been assigned to be the security guard.
Subhanallah. And one last thing I want to mention as well
Yes, akhi.
before there's a couple of more questions I want to ask before we end.
Yes,
I know this is a
inshallah.
mega session. Is I really liked the point you made when you were speaking about boycotts. Was we're boycotting this, boycotting that, and I don't. My personal opinion is, if somebody wants to boycott Starbucks and stuff like this, if they want to do it because they don't want to, they have some sort of principle. They don't want to do it because of it's going to the kuffar or whatever. I respect that. But if they do it with the idea that they're thinking they're gonna change anything because of this is not true. However, I like the point that you said that we need to stop boycotting uh, the things that are haram. as Muslims, because you could have the same people who are doing these actions of boycott, but in their daily life, they don't refer to Islam, they don't refer to Quran and Sunnah to how to live their life. So when we start boycotting haram and then we start enjoining in the good, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will change our situation for the better. I thought that was just a point which I reflected on, which I thought was really important. Okay, couple of more questions, quick fire
Yes,
questions. I think quick
no
fire
problem.
questions.
Inshallah.
Bit disconnected to what we were just currently speaking about, but as as people have been looking for the saviors on who's going to come and who's going to support the people of Gaza and the West Bank. Um, some people are looking towards like Iran and Hezbollah. And in fact, reality is, they haven't done anything so far. Okay, so I don't know why people would be looking at them in the first place. But should Muslims be expecting anything from Iran, Hezbollah as being the saviors of the people in Gaza?
Barakallahu fik. That's a very important question, akhi. Look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He says in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَن يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهَ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُم وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ. In the other ayah also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَقُولُونَ بِأَلْسِنَتِهِم مَا لَيْسَ فِي قُلُوبِهِم. And many other ayat. So we have ayat about the munafiqeen in the Quran, and even some ayat that talks to the believers, to the mu'mineen, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لما تقولون ما لا تفعلون كبر مقتا عند الله أن تقولوا ما لا تفعلون. Allah Ta'ala is talking here, is addressing the believers, mu'mineen, not just the munafiqeen. Why do you people say what you don't do with your actions? Allah Ta'ala does not approve of that. And again, the ayat I mentioned before are some of the ayat that illustrate the reality of the munafiq. The essence of the munafiq is that munafiq, his words and his actions are not the same. Okay? So we can take a very important principle for life, by the way.
So quick question: Are you talking linguistically or from a Sharia point of view? Like linguistically, you could say a hypocrite is someone who tells others to do things which they don't do. But then you're hypocrite also, if you're talking about munafiq, you're talking about those people who pretend on the outside to be Muslim, but actually they're not.
Yeah, it is. Even Sharia perspective. Although here, since you asked this question, to be more precise, we have obviously the ulama, they say there are two levels of nifaq. So nifaq asghar, nifaq akbar. So the minor nifaq and the major nifaq. Major nifaq is the kafir, the one, again, he claims to be Muslim. He says, I believe in Allah in the hereafter, and he doesn't believe in his heart. This is clearly stated in Surah Al-Baqarah. Nifaq asghar, the minor nifaq, can be someone who is a Muslim. He's not a kafir. He does believe in Allah in the hereafter, but his iman is so weak that he doesn't take his words seriously. So his words do not go in accordance with his actions. So that's why Prophet Muhammad he mentioned from ayatul munafiq, from the signs of the munafiq, what? إِذَا وَعَدَ أَخْلَفَ. He promises you and he will not respect the promise. So the munafiq, he will tell you, not munafiq kafir here. Again, this munafiq nifaq asghar. Okay, munafiq will say, Majid, I'll meet you tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'll see you at the park, whatever, at the masjid. Okay, so 9 a.m. you were there. He didn't show up. And it's his normal habit. Why he didn't show up? It's because when he told you, Majid, I'll be there at 9 a.m., while he was saying this, he was not saying it being serious in his heart. What he was thinking in his heart, he would say, let him come at 9 a.m. If I have nothing to do, I will come too. But if I have some other things, I'm not going to show up. Okay? So actions are not important for him. He has some general idea that I might do that action, but it's not as decisive as his words illustrate. Now, what we can take from this is a very interesting principle for life in general. This can help people in business and everything, okay? Whenever you want to judge someone, if you want to judge someone, never judge them, especially if we're talking here about judging in the sense of appreciation. You know, it's always saying, this is a good person, mashallah. Never judge a person by their statements, by their words. Always appreciate a person, validate them by their actions. If you saw that someone has great actions, feel good about the person. If someone has the greatest, most beautiful words, Allahu Alam,
Have never. That's why when someone praised someone in the presence of Umar ibn al-Khattab, radiallahu anhu, as it came in one narration, he said, أسافرت معه أتجرت معه. Did you make business with him? Did you travel with him to come to this conclusion? Or you just too quick into saying, oh, that's a great person. So here again, to go back to the matter of Iran and everything, you see what we were saying before. Sometimes people, they feel desperate. Okay, they feel desperate. They have no heroes. They have no saviors. They see no exit to this. So who's the best? Who's the best, talker in the room who can make us feel good? We have Iran and Hezbollah and the Houthis, but more specifically Iran and Hezbollah. So a lot of Muslims, they are deceived by these groups of Hezbollah and the state of Iran and everything. They say, they will do. There are some people like the Madkhalis and everything. They have this whole theory that Iran is the secret friend of Israel. Okay, that these guys are just playing a game. I personally don't believe that. Okay, I don't believe that. I believe that they have some kind of enmity, some kind of hatred, adversity, but not for the deen, not for Islam, not for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay, just like the Russians and the Americans have problems with each other. It's not a game. They do have adversity. It's real. It's not fi sabilillah. It's not like someone is for the haqq. Okay, both are upon the batil. It's just for their own self-interest, for their own security, whatever. It's the same thing for this. Now, one thing that you see some people, they write on the internet, some of those people, they say, yes, but in Islam, even the ulama, they have spoken, they will quote you some of the ulama, some of the fuqaha, even including Ibn Taymiyyah and everything, about situations where the Muslims are facing their enemies, and even with the Shia, we should come together and be allies and everything. This is not, trust me, akhi, this is not even an issue about Shia and Sunnah. Okay, we're not talking here about a minority of like a group of Shia who live in the Muslim world, in the in the Sunni lands, and they say, we stand with you, we are with Palestine. We say, Alhamdulillah, great, mashallah. We're not talking about that. We are talking about states here. We're not talking about religions. We have states. We have Iran, which is an official, formal, legitimate state. And then you have Hezbollah, which is also a hidden state. Hezbollah, everybody knows that Hezbollah controls a big portion of the Lebanese government. Okay, a big part of Lebanon today is controlled by Hezbollah. Okay, so Hezbollah is a state, although it's informal, it's behind the scenes. These guys is not about Sunnah Shia. These are murderers. These are murderers. They killed tons, they made massacres to the Muslims in Syria. What they did was not less, and astaghfirullah, I'm sorry here for the people of Gaza. This is not a window, this is not a door I want to open. I don't want to compare a massacre to another massacre, a genocide to another genocide, because at a certain point, it gets where there is no worst evil. It's like so evil that what are you going to compare exactly, right? But what the murders, the genocides, and people, today they say what's happening in Gaza, we have never seen this. I've even read some people, they say first time in history that we have a genocide being recorded and being live streamed live on TV. Not true. It was in Syria first. Okay, what happened in Syria was exactly the same thing as what's happening in Gaza, although obviously the context is different. As I said, I don't want to get into comparing a genocide. That would be very inhumane of me to do that. But what happened in Syria was a genocide happening live, and Iran was officially part of it. Hezbollah was formally part of it. They stood up with Bashar al-Assad, who's a secular government, by the way, unlike the Iranian government, for example, or Hezbollah. Even the Shia, to my knowledge, I'm not a Shia scholar, but to my knowledge, and I'm pretty confident about what I'm saying here, is that even the Shia, the Imamiyya and everything, they consider the Nusayriya of Bashar al-Assad to be kuffar, to be disbelievers. Okay?
That's what I've heard as well, yeah.
Still, they picked them as an ally against the people of Sunnah. Like, go back in history a little bit, akhi. Go back. Imagine if Iran and Hezbollah picked the right friend in Syria. They said, we're not going to go with the oppressor, would rather either be neutral or support the Sunnis a little bit. Because, let's make an alliance with the Sunnis. That's what these Sunnis are telling you today. They say we should make an alliance with Iran against Israel. Well, they could have done the same thing if Iran was smart enough, if they were, if they were seeing clear, even for their own maslahah, they could have said, people of Ahl Sunnah in Syria, they have access to al-Julan, to the borders of Palestine and everything. We should make an alliance with them. And, this would, bring the hatred and the problems between Shia and Sunnah, make them a little bit less pronounced and everything. We can make an alliance with them, help them against Bashar al-Assad, or at least, remain neutral. They didn't do that. They went with the oppressor. They went with him, they supported him, and they are one of the reasons why Syria is still where it is today. So what do you expect from them? Plus, as you said, Yahi, what did they do? Okay, Bismillah, go ahead, Iran, show us something. This is your hero moment. If Iran wanted to become, even if they are upon the batil, by the way, if Iran wanted to, seize the opportunity to become the hero of the Ummah and to deceive the Muslims even more, this is the opportunity. This is the opportunity. They can eclipse the Saudis and everyone else from the image. If they did something, they're not going to do anything, akhi.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I think even with Hezbollah, I don't think people have, short memories as such, but a lot of, before what Hezbollah did in Syria, I think even with, with the Sunni world, there was always that level of respect in regards to how their resistance against the Zionist entity. But after what they did in Syria, and what I think I can't remember the Arabic term, but there was a term for the militia,
yes,
who like the Islamic Revolutionary Guards, I think
exactly.
it was. I can't remember what it was. Those groups.
Al-Haras Thawri,
Yeah, and some of the videos that you saw, what they were burning people, they were doing all sorts. But
Akhi, the Syrian people were celebrating. They were so happy that it was a party day for them. When Trump killed Qasim Soleimani, like imagine when even Trump killing Qasim Soleimani, for them, who cares, even if it's Trump, right?
Yeah.
It was like so much, sentiment of revenge in their heart to see that murderer being killed and getting the same fate. So
yeah, no, of course, of course. I mean, this is a bigger discussion, to be honest with you, in regards to whose interest, strategic interest, does Iran really serve there. But we'll leave that one. And one last question.
yes,
One last question. I think this is important as well.
mm-hmm.
It's in regards to, we've been seeing a lot of videos that have been sent out. What's happening? Your children being killed, and a lot of these things actually have. Can I use the word positive in the sense like, it has maybe, hit the conscience of many people around the world, whether they're Muslim or non-Muslim. But from a Sharia point of view, in regards to viewing this type of content and sharing it, what's the ruling?
Okay, barakallahu fik. Wallahi, look, akhi, this is subhanallah, this is such a difficult question. Why? Because it is so humiliating for us to be talking about this. Astaghfirullah. May Allah Ta'ala forgive us that we got to a point where we are talking, is it halal or haram to be looking at the images of, the bodies of Palestinian children with all the blood, or, deformed with their limbs cut and so on and so forth. So it's not the type of question, you would just, take it as a very cold question, is this nawaqid al-salat? Does it break your salat or it doesn't break your salat? Is it halal to eat this food or not? Imagine, akhi, the humiliation we got to is that we are forced to answer these type of questions. We are forced, not like it's a bad question. It's not that we are not supposed to talk about it, but this is our situation today. So as you said, astaghfirullah, like there's maybe one side that we can call positive side to it. So the astaghfirullah positive side to it is that it wakes up people, okay? Because some people, as long as they haven't seen these images, what we call graphic, images, graphic evidence, Either some people will not believe you that this is really happening, okay? Or some people, they will believe that it's really happening, but it's not going to hit them hard. They're not going to wake up, okay? So look, if you tell me 100 Palestinians were killed yesterday, and the next day you tell me 98 Palestinians were killed, after a few days, it's going to become news, okay? It's just numbers. What is it exactly? What? It happened in history before too. It's like I'm reading a book of history, and centuries ago Muslims were killed and everything. It's just life as normal. So for some people, akhi, they are in such a state of ghafla inside their shahawat, inside their dunya. They're so consumed by the dunya. The only solution for them is to be shocked by these images. That's number one. Number two, akhi, again, as evidence, because again, we live in such a disgusting, dirty world. So going back to Syria, like I said before, if you followed the civil wars, they call it in Syria, the events and everything, in the beginning, the media in the West were all for the Muslims and the population of Syria. So again, it was just like Palestine today, to a certain extent, okay? It's like, this murderous Bashar al-Assad, he is killing. And then at a certain point, obviously that's a different discussion. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It was not serving their agenda anymore. They saw some developments that were going on. They said, we need to stop talking about this. Okay, we need to stop talking about Syria and feeding the emotions of people and the people's feelings for the people of Syria and so on and so forth. So they started not publishing those graphic images anymore. Okay, and I remember very well, akhi, how the change started. They started first saying, warning. Initially, they would just show, okay, massacres like the bombings of Bashar al-Assad and everything. They would just show that this is what we found on YouTube. People, they're filming in Idlib, in Halab, in Deir az-Zor and everything. And they started first big thing. There's this footage might contain graphic, so that they tell many people, please don't watch. It's better if you don't watch. Okay. And then even YouTube started flagging many of these videos that you have to sign in, enter your age, whatever. And then next stage, akhi, next step, they stopped completely. They said, this is too graphic. We're not going to share this on mainstream media. YouTube started removing it. There's actually a brother on Twitter, a Syrian brother, forgot what his name was. He made a huge effort to save. He had terabytes of footage, akhi, that he downloaded. I think he lives in Turkey or something. He downloaded from YouTube when YouTube started removing. It was thousands of videos that YouTube started just removing, videos from 2 years, 3 years ago, from massacres that Bashar al-Assad committed. YouTube, they said, this is too graphic. Okay, too graphic, but the brother was saying, other people, they said, what do you want? You want to erase the memory, the archives of what happened, of history? This is, this is proofs for history. You could not just remove everything. So if I remember correctly, like, yeah, terabytes, akhi, of footage that he downloaded. And I think even like he made like copies and he shared with other activists and so on and so forth. They said, because we don't want this to be erased from people's minds, okay? But look what happened after. Once you remove it, you know how the media has changed the language after? They said, allegedly, there was some airstrikes of Bashar al-Assad that have allegedly killed some children in a school, according to some activists, okay? So this is not verified. Why is it not verified? Because you don't have proof. Well, here's the proof, here's the footage. No, it's too graphic. We don't take these type of things. So you see how the evidence, as tough as it is, it's necessary, unfortunately, in the dirty, disgusting world and horrific world in which we live today. That being said, obviously, akhi, there's a big negative aspect to it. And again, here I'm talking about whether it's halal or whether it's legitimate, licit from Islamic perspective to look at and to share some of the evidence of all the crimes being committed in Palestine. Number one, akhi, is obviously the hurma of the Muslim. The hurma, the respect, that the body of the Muslim needs to have. So when someone dies, even as a regular death, you should have respect for his body. You should not just expose his body to the whole world. I and you, none of us want, like after our death, that the whole world will be looking at every single limb of our body. Okay. Sometimes even the aura of someone is not covered in everything. So there's that comes into effect. That's for them. And then there's also for us, for us. This is very important. Here, and here's the key that can bring basically an answer to this. What's the impact on a person watching this? What can be the impact on them?
I think the long-term impact, if I'm going to be honest with you, I think that people become numb to it.
Yeah, so you can become desensitized to it.
Desensitized, yeah.
Okay. Or you can again become so upset, so angry, and at the same time so sad, and that you're just gonna fall into, some people will fall, especially maybe sisters or whatever, they're gonna fall into depression, right? They will lose hope. Okay. So you can summarize all of this into what? Your inability to act. Okay. You're not going to act anymore. Okay. Because again, as you said, either someone is desensitized, that, oh, it's just on my feed, yeah, okay, yeah, I see many pictures like this. People, oh, okay, new one, okay. Or that, this has struck me so hard that I'm just going to isolate myself from this world. It's finished. It's over. This ummah is over. Khalas, it's over. Khalas. Now, this is not good. And this is why I'm going to bring to a hadith, very briefly, inshallah. Hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, a hadith of Jabir radiallahu anhu, famous companion. So in the battle of Uhud, his father of Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu, he was killed, he was martyred, and the mushrikeen, they played with his body, they damaged his body so much. Okay. So obviously the Sahaba, they covered the body to go and to bury him, to do the dafn. So Jabir radiallahu anhu, in Sahih al-Bukhari, Jabir radiallahu anhu, he came and he wanted to uncover, to look at the face of his father. فذهبت لأكشف عن وجهه قال فنهاني قومي. My people, my family, my relatives, they forbade me from. They said, don't do it, don't uncover his face. And he says, فذهبت, second time I attempted again to look at the face of my father. Don't do it. They did not let me look at the face of my father. Now I tried to look in 3-4 shuruh of the hadith, including Fath al-Bari, Ibn Hajar, or the Sharh of al-Ayni and everything. They did not say why here. They did not offer any commentary about this portion of the hadith, but maybe because it's very obvious. Okay, so I think the reason why they prevented him from doing so, again, because it says in the beginning of the hadith that his face, the face of his father was altered so much, right? So you don't want to see your father like that. You don't want to see your brother. You don't want to see your child. And you don't want to see also your Muslim brothers like this. So this is one hadith here that this is to be taken seriously. The other hadith, akhi, it might seem, far stretched, but in Sahih Muslim, look, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, لولا أن لا تدافنوا لسألت الله أن يسمعكم من عذاب القبر ما أسمعني. أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said عليه الصلاة والسلام, had it not been that I know that you will not bury each other, I would have asked Allah Ta'ala to make you people hear some of the adhab al-qabr that I was able to hear. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah Ta'ala gave him the ability to hear some of the adhab al-qabr, the punishment, people being punished in their graves. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam have heard people screaming, and the frightening sounds of adhab al-qabr. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wanted to ask Allah Ta'ala to make us hear that, because it would be a reminder for us, to remind us of the akhirah. But what prevented Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from making that dua is that he was afraid, alayhi salatu wasalam, that this would shock us so much we would not bury each other. One brother dies, he passes away in the community, and they say, okay, let's do salat al-janaza, let's take him to the graveyard, and say, I'm not doing this. I feel bad for, what if he's gonna get, punished in his qabr? I'm not doing this. I'm leaving him here. لولا أن لا تدفن. So now, if you look at the shurah here of the hadith, this is where they bring an interesting aspect here. They say because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did not want them to have access to that, because this would prevent them from action, from amal. What I'm trying to say here, sometimes some knowledge you might have, some voices, some sounds you might hear, some images you might look at will actually have a negative effect. They will prevent you from action. Okay, you will become inactive because of them, and this does not please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What Allah Azza wa Jal wants from us is action. So here, to summarize the answer, akhi, what I'm trying to say here, some people need to be showed those images for sure. Some people, they need to be showed. They need to be encouraged. They need to force themselves. If they have never seen this, if someone says, I don't feel that, this whole thing, Palestine, Gaza, has nothing to do with me. I don't feel it. I'm Muslim and I don't feel it at all. Even non-Muslim, by the way. Well, if you have an influence on that person, well, try to show them or to encourage them to go see, at least for a little bit, because it will shock them. It will wake them up, inshallah ta'ala, unless obviously they have a heart made of a rock. That's different. But for those people who have seen enough, who know what's going on, they understand, and it's always on their mind, I think it's important to not see too much, not to share too much, and to turn your anger and your emotions into, again, positive action, long-term action. As I said, make sure that every day you ask yourself, what can I do for the ummah? What can I do today for the ummah? Right? To make this, what can I do for myself? Number one, to liberate myself, okay? Because again, this is a long-term thing. You said before, our children, yes, our children, but also ourselves. Look, Allah Ta'ala knows it's very possible, very, very possible. There's a very big possibility. It's not like something remote. That's why when I was talking about the state of the ummah and everything, I was not trying to be pessimistic. No, we're just trying to be realistic. Being pessimistic is one thing. Being pessimistic is saying, you know what? We're so bad, it's over, finished, forget us. Being realistic, saying, look, we have some serious issues to deal with before we can get to where we want to get to, okay? So there's a strong possibility, very strong possibility, that those of us who will have a long life, inshallah, who will live like 4 years to come, inshallah, they will witness the liberation of Palestine, okay?
Amen.
There's a big possibility for this. It's not something that's like so far, so difficult to be done. Definitely some things will have to happen. Allah Ta'ala knows how it will happen. There's another possibility that it will take longer. Okay, it will take. That's another possibility. It might take longer, maybe another 50, 67 years, maybe 80 years, Allahu A'lam. But look, akhi, just like we said before, do you want, akhi, or any other Muslim that's watching us today, do you want your children to go through the same humiliation that we are going through today?
Definitely not.
No. Do you want your children to, go through all this madalla that we are living today, that we have become homeless as Muslims, right? Like you see Muslims, and then even in the West, the how they call them, the nationalists and the white supremacists and everything, right? They look down upon the Muslims because they see them as refugees coming to invade their lands and everything. Obviously, the essence of this is, we understand, hatred and racism and everything. But there's some truth to it, in the sense that, look, akhi, Allah Ta'ala has given us our lands. We should do something to get our lands back and to build our lands back, instead of being homeless, communities or roaming around the world, right? So every day we should be doing something, akhi, for two things. To liberate myself. By saying liberate myself, I'm also liberating my family, my children. I don't want them to inherit the situation in which I am today, with taxes on top and interest, okay? I want them to be in a better position, inshallah. Every one of us should be thinking like that. And number two, what can I do to make this ummah stronger? Even a little bit, by like a grain of salt every day. How to make this ummah more powerful, more stronger. If that even means, like in the hadith of Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu, I believe, when he was asking Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what can I do as sadaqah, ya Rasulullah? Do this. What if I can't? Then do this. What if I can't? Then do this. And then last way he said what? تكف شرك عن الناس فإنها صدقة منك على نفسك. Don't, if you can't do anything, can't give $1, can't say a good word, can do nothing today, well, today, say, my goal today is that I'm not going to hurt anyone. By saying hurt anyone, we're talking about terms of Islamic, from Islamic perspective. I'm not going to hurt. I'm not going to cause injustice to anyone. I'm not going to cause problems to anyone because it's a sadaqah on myself. I'm making charity on myself, actually. That's what I'm doing, okay? So not like, again, we live in this world today of, how do they call them? Big initiatives, big achievements. The 10 traits of those who achieve the best things in life, of the most successful people, and like become a billionaire and become a hero that's going to become Salahuddin. Nobody's expecting this from everyone. And for instance, we're not even living in a context that needs a Salahuddin. It's not even that, okay? Salahuddin was very different. Salahuddin, Saifuddin, Qutuz, whatever. Those were different contexts. They just needed a man, a leader, someone who could just, no, we have a bigger problem here. It's not just, even if we were able to go back in history, bring down Salahuddin and Saifuddin Qutuz and the 3-4 others like them, put them on the same team, okay? And trust me, akhi, you will have a big number of Muslims in the Ummah who will turn against them, okay? They will have to face first those people that will be troublemakers, okay? So I can't do anything for the Ummah today. Let me make sure that I'm not destroying the Ummah at least, okay? And here, I'm just going to conclude with one thing, okay? Just because from my experience, not because I'm so important, no, because I'm talking to you about something that I can witness. That's what I'm trying to say here. So that no one says, what are you talking about? No. Akhi, here, where we live here, akhi, we have Muslims and Islamic organizations, akhi, even in these very tough moments, akhi. They're trying to stop the da'wah that we do. We had a halaqah university, akhi, was running for years. It got to a number, was hitting 300 people every week, akhi. 300 people. Halaqah university. We do Madarij Salikin, Imam Ibn al-Qayyim. Most of them, the youth and students. 300 people. This was, alhamdulillah, the result of very long-term work. Who came to destroy it, akhi? Not the government or whatever. It's people who, they are Muslims like you. They are Islamic like you. They work in the da'wah. They came and they just stopped the whole thing. Imagine, akhi. So, what can I do today to liberate myself more and to make this ummah more powerful, more stronger? Eventually, one day, inshallah, Muslims will have enough, independence that they can move their muscles a little bit, and they can start helping each other. They can have more freedom, and also their situation as a whole, as a community, will reach a certain level of force where they can face the enemy and they can, give the proper answer to these type of situations in which we are.
Yeah, subhanallah, bro. Subhanallah. I think the thing you said at the end about Muslims, walking around, and it just occurred to me as I was listening to a brother a couple of weeks back, and he was talking about how if you think about it, as an ummah, the current ummah today, there's probably no one alive who experienced a time when there was the state of Islam, where the Muslims were walking with their heads high, where we haven't. It's like in the storybooks.
Exactly.
All we've known is subjugation, humiliation, and I think this psychologically has that impact, and I think this is what the negativity they want. But I think what key steps that I would say as well to kind of take away from what you're saying in regards to improvement. I think this improvement can only come from people starting to take an interest in their deen, starting to read the seerah, starting to read the stories of the Sahaba. You mentioned people like Salahuddin and Sayyid Qutuz and Baybars and all these people. Read their biography, and you will see how these people, they dedicated their life for Islam. They dedicated, and also when you think about Salahuddin, we always talk about one person. However, it was a movement. There were many people who will have the ajr with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't even know their names.
Exactly.
But it's irrelevant in the grand scheme of things because
Exactly.
they weren't doing it so that we talk about them so many centuries later.
People think history is Superman story, right? They think like Salahuddin was like a Superman. Everybody's just looking at him like, whoa, he finally came.
Subhanallah. So we'll end it there. I'm gonna just take your final thoughts. But one last thing I want to quickly mention though, you mentioned a few times, and I think it's important we clarify this. you described the Zionist state as a superpower. And I don't want people to misunderstand that, because in reality, this is a very weak state. It's just armed to the teeth. Once that tap stops, like this defense ex I think he's the ex-defense minister, Israeli Zionist guy. He mentioned
Yes.
about a week ago. He said that what you have to understand is all of our weapons, airplanes, everything comes from America. The day they stop that tap, we won't have the ability to fight a war. So I think that's just an important point. I would not put the same word. I put the word superpower with the illegal state of Israel, which is an artificial society made up of people who have nothing in common other than an external threat.
Yes.
I just thought I'd clarify that.
What I meant, Akhi, what I meant here is the whole system. Okay, again.
Oh yeah, 100. Yeah, of course.
The Zionist state is just a representative. Akhi, again, we don't, I think we're time to conclude, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But again, for people who want to read a little bit about history, like what's the reason? Why does this state exist in the very first? Like why does it exist? Like why did they want it to exist, right? It's the Western world when they wanted to keep the Muslims, under how do you say, under control, right? Under control. They had to put their agent in the middle of the Muslim world. That's why they support it. People, they don't understand why is it that America supports them, and why is it that the UK and Europe and everybody, because it's someone who's doing their job for them. Okay, so that's what when I say superpower, it's considering the whole alliance behind it, not just considering that small.
Yes, 100%, 100%. And as Biden said, if there wasn't an Israel, we would have to invent one.
Exactly.
So Ustadh, you've said many things. I kind of feel like your last segment was your conclusion, but I will give you the opportunity if you have any final thoughts to mention before we close the podcast.
Jazakallah khair, akhi, barakallah fiqh. I will close the podcast in a very brief way, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide all of us, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for our shortcomings and for our taqsir, inshallah. Again, anything we said in this podcast, it's not like Quran. Not all of it is the book of Allah Azza wa Jal, word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The basic ideas, the main ideas are pretty clear cut. However, the ways we said it, sometimes some examples I have said, whatever, as we say, always we bring the mutashabih back to the muhkam, as we say in usul fiqh. So for people, again, who might disagree with some examples I gave, whatever, some expressions I said, just focus on the main idea and just understand those furu', those subordinate ideas, in the light of whatever we were focusing on, inshallah.
May Allah accept it from you, Ustadh. May Allah accept it from you.
So
to all the listeners and those watching, I'm sure you benefited from this episode as much as I have. And I want to just thank the Ustadh once again for taking his time out. He's a very busy man. It's taken me many months to imprison him for a few hours on this episode. And inshallah, I know because I had so many requests. Get the Ustadh back on, get the Sheikh back on.
Jazakallah khair, barakallahu fiqh.
I'm sure people have benefited from it, and Jazakallah khair to you, Ustadh.
Wa iyyakum ya akhi, barakallahu fiqh, and to you as well. Jazakumullah khair. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless your efforts, inshallah.
Ameen, ameen. And on that note, until the next episode, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.